Hier zie je hem nog. En voor een promotor zeker? Ja. Hallo, laatste man, alsjeblieft, dank u. Go, go, go.
th Sunday of each year, this happens. The marketplace in Bruges fills with cycling fans very early on in the morning, and come rain or shine, they're there for the start of the Tour of Flanders. Front, you just never know. To the big three though, Peter Sagan, the young pretender yet to win a monument, riding for Cannondale, the Slovakian champion, but in great form.
Sei tranquillissimo.
Sì, buongiorno a tutti. Io penso che oggi una bella giornata e vediamo come finisce.
Hij zegt, goeiedag allemaal, het is vandaag een schone dag en we zien wel hoe het afloopt.
Zullen we nog eenmaal verzoeken, doe straks, goedemorgen Brugge.
Goedemorgen Brugge.
Hey, fantastisch. Goeiedag. Goedemorgen. Spreek je al een beetje Nederlands?
Nou.
Je verstaat me wel. Non mi hai capito?
No.
And you have to try some Belgian beers before leaving Belgium, like Brugse Zot and Duvel.
Okay, we'll see how it goes.
You have to try it. You have to promise me.
Okay, I promise.
After the race, eh?
After the race. Okay.
Thank you.
Zeg, hoe ver woon je van hier?
Van hier zal het 1,5 kilometer, 2 kilometer zijn.
Brad Wiggins is here. Not supposed to be here a few days ago, but he has been selected to ride.
I think you can't really afford to be nervous in these races. You've just got to commit 100%. And I've already packed my suitcase at the hotel in case I end up in hospital. So you've just got to do that and hope for the best.
But if he has an option or a chance out.
En mensen om een beeldhouwwerk van te maken. Luca Paolini!
Hoe was het met Sip aan het ontbijt?
Sepp aan het ontbijt is altijd een mooi spektakel. Die stout er zoveel eten in als de hele ploeg samen, denk ik.
Is waar?
Ja.
Wat dan?
Ja, alles wat eetbaar is.
Are you impressed, Taylor?
I'm always impressed with the turnout at these races. It's like I said on Twitter last night, it's like the Super Bowl in Belgium. So it's great to see everybody out here, especially with a little bit of rain. Thanks for coming.
En vergelijk dit met de Super Bowl in de Verenigde Staten. Dat is wel een straffe uitspraak, die pikken we mee.
Nog één vraag.
Race on 3 occasions. Remember, the man we saw before, Bonen, aiming to become the man who's won it more than anybody. Sepp van Marken, another man yet to win those really, really big races. He is a former winner of Omloop Het Nieuwsblad. He has pedigree, and he also...
Waarom eet je zoveel 's morgens?
Ja, goed te kunnen kakken.
For Team Sky. Former winner, 2 years on the run. Steen de Volder today supposed to be riding for Fabian Cancellara. He won the E3 Harelbeke last week. Tom Bonen, has he recovered from his broken hand? We shall see. He's been riding yet again without mitts on. It's that left hand of his that might have a few bandages on. He signs in as one of the favourites. Looked okay to us.
Hoeveelste keer is dat je naar de stad komt?
13e keer.
En ben je bijgelovig?
Het was 13 graden deze morgen.
Je hebt nummer 31. Dat is omgekeerd 13, hè?
Ik weet het.
Dat kan niet mislopen, hè, Tom?
Nee, inderdaad. Ik draai het meestal om en ik ben niet bijgelovig, maar dan wel als het goed uitkomt.
You seem so relaxed.
Fabian Cancellara, winner 12 months ago, can make history today. He can join that select band of riders to have won this.
Sunday morning. It's a nice race ahead of us.
You see the rain when you get up. What do you think? Finally or damn?
That's a real Flandrian race.
That's why you race.
No, I race because I love the race, my heart is for the race, and yeah, I mean, I want to win the race. I mean, I'm not here just to go around the corner and have a nice beer or enjoy with the people. I mean,
you feel 100% now?
99.9. The 100 is on the start line.
Good luck today. Fabian Cancellara.
So it has plenty of form as well. So the gun went just after 10 a.m. this morning. It was raining, it was wet, the cobble's already wet, which might not have been a good sight for those hoping to have a relatively easy first 100 kilometers or so. But off they went for 8.
En op de kop, dat betekent dat je minder snel gaat rijden dan met de wind in de rug. Eddie, ben ik juist?
Ja, je bent nog wat eten, wacht. Dat is de logica, inderdaad. Ja. Het is toch belangrijk als die zijwind een beetje parten speelt, vooral in het begin nu.
Vervelend.
Ja. Vervelend, ja.
Daar begint het plassen, hè. Links en rechts zie je coureurs komen en dan moet je opletten tegenwoordig met de gasboetes. Maar ik denk dat ze vandaag wel even door de vingers gaan zien. Het peloton wordt dan klein en uiteindelijk slipt alles weer samen. En als die vlag dan naar beneden gaat, dan ben je maar beter bij de pinken. En de favorieten die kunnen zich dan mooi in de buik verschuilen. Maar er gaat toch weer, en ook dat is de Ronde van Vlaanderen, een van die favorieten wegvallen. Door pech, door een valpartij. Dat kan, hè. Daar hou je rekening mee ook wel.
De eerste kilometers zijn ze natuurlijk allemaal bang, die kopmannen, want dan is het heel gevaarlijk.
Ja. Oké, doe.
Off ceremonial kilometers. Approaching kilometer 0, the flag was waved, they were off, and as you'd expect in a race of such magnitude, attacks right from the gun.
Ja, we zijn al goed bezig.
Het zal niet waar zijn. Oh ja, weergave van wat gebeurd is. Dit moet Loom-Durbridge zijn. En daar ligt nog een renner tegen de grond. Dit zijn weergaven van valpartijen in het begin van de wedstrijd met Le Bon, de jonge veelbelovende Fransman, La Française des Jeux, die de pijn uitschreeuwt. Dit moet Sepp van Marken zijn die tegen de grond gegaan is. Dat is jammer, want dat is de kopman, dat is de man waar we zoveel van verwachten. En dat moet de aanrijding zijn van Johan van Summeren met die dame, met die vrouw daar in het midden. Die uitgebreid medische assistentie krijgt. Dit is Johan van Summeren die jammer genoeg voor hem afgevoerd wordt.
als het aan de kant.
Dat is een gerachte deur.
Zie je dan er daarachter zitten?
Jongens, zo laat dat niet meer.
Dan ze zitten niet in wonen, dan niet te worden. Toch weer een keer, maar kijk, nu moet je er weer een keer.
Zou dat niet te doen is, hè?
Kijk nog hier, testen die auto's.
Jongens, alles onder controle. Wat zijn die 10 gaan weg? Die halve gaan weg zijn Peter. Die halve zijn weg.
Kom maar dan!
Die hele halve. Veel plezier jongens! Veel plezier!
For Luke Durbridge, who's gone to hospital. He has no fractures apparently, which is good news. Martin Elmiger's gone as well. And Johan van Summeren, he's had to abandon after he hit a spectator who strayed into the middle of the race. Well, we did have 11 out there in the break, 10 in the minute, 2.
Als ze met je bespreekt zien.
Ja, daarom dat er zo troostjes was.
Ik kan Cancellara wel niet zien, dat van hem? Nee. Ja, maar zo niet. Ja, je moet 5 minuten aangaan, niet openen.
one for Garmin, and of course one for Wanty Group Gorbert. Wanty's the only team represented with 2 riders. James van Lanschot is there with them. Topsport Vlaanderen, as you'd expect, always represented here with Jelle Valleys. Katusha have a presence. They have Alexander Kuczynski. Roman Zangl is there for Cofidis, Belgian rider who really loves riding in these races at home. Lampre, they were desperate to get in the break from the off. The team in the pink and blue there. Andrea Palini's the man in there, as hopefully our camera shot's going to pan away and avoid the comfort break being taken by young Raymond Kreder. Davide Apollonia's had a problem. He's had a puncture. We haven't seen him in the group here at the minute, even though it's reported on race radio that he is back in the group. In his first season as a professional, riding his first ever Tour of Flanders. And he, like the rest of those 10 men in the break, are 6 minutes and 5 seconds ahead. A whopping 172 kilometres to go. And for this long stint this afternoon, it's great to be joined by a former Monument winner, Paris-Roubaix man from 2004, Magnus Bagstad. Magnus, good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Welcome along. And 10 guys in the break. 6 minutes and 5. There's not too much to worry about for the favourites at the moment.
No, certainly not. I mean, there's an awful long way to go to the end of this race, and we haven't even gotten to the proper climbs yet. So I think we can calmly say that the favourites will be starting to ride, or at least put their teams to start bringing this back. And you know, looking at certainly BMC and Garmin Sharp, they're in a very good position with the man up in the break each. Same thing for Katusha, who, you know, got a couple of strong guys in here. Omega Pharma, Quickstep, Cannondale, Trek Factory Racing, having to basically do their work and show that, you know, they are the clear favourites for this race today.
Well, we'll run through who we think are going to be the runners and riders, the big favourites for this, a little later on today. 6 minutes and 3. This is the longest advantage that they've had so far, those out in front. Remember, it is a 259-kilometre race. We've seen races such as E3, Harold Baker with the same sort of climbs, Dwars door Vlaanderen, a bit less climbing, but still plenty of cobbles. All these warm-up races take place in the last 2-3 weeks. The difference here, Magnus, is the distance, surely.
Well, the distance is, you know, you're adding easily 60 kilometers onto the race of, you know, the sort of warm-up races, as you say. There's also that fact that they put the climbs much closer to the finish, and they tend to cram them in a very short space of time as well. Whereas, you know, E3, there's almost, you know, 20 kilometers of flat road, and, you know, into the finish line. Although, you know, the climbs are still very selective, and they still break up the peloton, but not quite like they do here.
Well, we're into the province of West Flanders now. Here's Fabian Cancellara wearing number 1 on his back. This is the time in the race when he can afford to perhaps slightly switch off. Not too much happening at the minute. Go back to his team car, have a chat, get some extra drinks, some extra food, and again with the distance, perhaps have a little check on the mechanics of his bike and make sure his race number's on properly, make sure his radio's working. Of course, he wants to hear the orders. Remember, this is World Tour, this is race radios. This is the time to sort any problems you have out, Magnus.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, once the break is settled down and gone up the road, and it's not too stressful down the peloton, people tend to take a bit less risks, and you know, the crashes tend to happen when everyone is on the limit. You're riding on the very edge of the road to try and get some kind of shelter from a bit of crosswind maybe, but now that shouldn't be a problem. And like you said, the radio, which they are obviously struggling with a little bit at this point, Cancellara is just going back to get that, because once you get to the business end of it, that radio is vital, not only for the information in terms of you know, the racing and tactics, but say to have the radio. I think the radio should be available in all sort of top-end levels of racing, just so you can, you can have a little bit of a backup, get the information that you require without calling the team car up into the middle of the peloton or having to drop back and do things like this.
Well, nothing you do in the Tour of Flanders gets unseen.
Oh, no.
We estimate around 800,000 to 1 million people on the side of the roads today. This is the national sporting event of Belgium. We go through the back roads of rural Flanders. It's the Flemish-speaking area of the country. For those of you not familiar, of course, we have Flemish and French-speaking areas of Belgium, Flanders and Wallonia.
Check die Volksberichte.
Feature of Belgian racing. Bad roads, dodgy roundabouts, strange 90-degree corners. You're going to see it all a little later on today. Remember, we're heading to the first of 16
past the first feed station of today's race, then it starts getting a bit lumpier. So once we get in past Oudenaarde the first time, and that's when it starts to really become very, very hilly indeed. And when we say hilly, we're talking, kilometer, 1,200 meters, maybe long climbs, but they are upwards of 15 up to 22% for Koppenberg. So it's just really, really steep and very, very challenging, and a lot of the times it's on cobblestones, because when they laid the surface on these climbs, they were actually too steep for them to lay tarmac on, and that's why they went with stones.
Well, it's funny, some of the climbs even had the tarmac ripped up. I think it's the case of the Koppenberg, in fact. They had the tarmac ripped up. They put cobbles in because a local farmer thought it might be an interesting bit of road to use in the Tour of Flanders. He called the organisers up. This is back in the 1970s, I think it was, with Koppenberg now. And yeah, it was suddenly included in the race route.
And what an inclusion as well. I mean, it's provided enough crazy racing and incidents over the years, and I know after, I think it was Jesper Skibby that went down on Koppenberg, and almost, well, I think his bike got driven over by a team, plus we got another crash. Paolini.
Oh, bike problem for Paolini.
Yeah, just dropped a chain there.
Well, Luca Paolini dressed for it today. He's got the leg warmers on, oh dear, and he doesn't like how his bike's looking. Now then, a bike change this early in the race for Luca Paolini. How's that going to affect him? Because he is one of the main men for today.
It shouldn't be too big a problem. Obviously, you got your race bike, and you want your race bike to be. There's always that little bit of something that you feel he's ridden his other bike a number of times, and probably raced other races on it, but you get that special bike for these races, and all of a sudden you get that, there's something special about this. I think it just clipped the wheel there and went down, so I think it was actually his own fault, to be honest.
Well, he wasn't happy. We had a Marcel Kittel-esque bike toss there that we saw from Tirreno Adriatico not so long ago. But again, with 164.9 kilometers to go, we haven't reached the first climb yet. We haven't reached the real part of the Tour of Flanders yet. This is all about acquiring distance, letting the morning break go, settling into the racing.
There is only space for maybe 3 riders abreast on that particular road leading into the climb, and you need to be at the front row of that one. Certainly no further back than second row, to be safe and to be in a position where you're comfortable and you don't have to stress about it. Further back, people are taking risks, likely to see crashes, and also as we go over the top of Eau de Quaremont, you've got a long false flat section of cobblestones which tend to sting quite badly, and I'll be surprised if we don't see the peloton actually starting to string out and maybe even lose a couple of riders on that section of road as we are into, we've done the first 100 odd kilometers of the race by the time we hit that.
Well, going into Oudenaarde, this is the breakaway of 10 riders. If you're just joining us, they are Taylor Phinney. We shall see. Stig Brooks is there for Lotto. He's a neo-pro and it's his first Ronde van Vlaanderen. Raymond and Wesley Creder there. Two brothers riding for different teams, Garmin and Wanty. Wesley is in the Wanty team. He's accompanied by James van Langschut, the local Belgian team with the only team with two riders present in the break. Jelle Valleys is there to top sport Vlaanderen. Alexander Kuczynski for Team Katusha. Roman Zangler is the Belgian rider for Cofidis. Darl Impey, South African, riding for Orica Green Edge, the Australian team. And Andrea Palini riding for Lampre, Italian team, who today will go with Pippo Pozzato, second in this race a couple of years ago. 6 minutes and 7. The work at the front being shed out by Cannondale, Trek and Omega Pharma Quickstep at the moment. Frances Desjeux close as well. Katusha. All teams who have options in.
Finny op kop, Finny. Hier, op kopje dan. Op kop.
This year, Magnus, the route has been spiced up a bit. The last 50 kilometres, including no less than 8 cobbled hills, without any long flat parts. We might not really see a big group arriving together at the bottom of the Oude Kwaremont for the third and final time, and after that it's the deadly Paterberg. It is such an interesting route this year.
It is very, very different and very interesting indeed, like you say. And I think, you know, this race, it's always been hard. It's always been, you know, small groups coming to the finish, but I reckon this year we're probably in for even more so. And it'd just be interesting to see whether making it this hard will make the race slightly more negative. Guys will still go out there and actually raise the cause. You know, generally what you see, if the race is too hard, then it becomes a drop-off race. So you race from the back basically. You know, every time you go up a climb, you got 5-10 riders falling off the back, and then next climb there's another 5-10 guys going off the back until there's hardly anything left of the group, and that's when they start attacking a little bit. If the race is easy, then it's more of an aggressive kind of race where guys take the opportunity and go for it.
Well, this is the back of the bunch. Agir Desert there with Davide Apollonio. He was in the early break actually and did have a puncture. He had to come back towards the group. You can see that Luca Paolini's back in Oudenaarde and back amongst the main group. He's right at the back there.
With the big high white socks on it.
Today we're going to be taking to the team cars as well. Time to go on board for the first time.
Ja, met een lange koers, hè. Misschien een paar discus, zijn juist maar... Moet je taartjes in? Oké.
What's Derek de Mol saying?
Well, it's just giving a couple of you know, small orders in terms of what's what, and just nothing really too technical as such. It's just giving him a bit of an sort of almost like more encouraging than anything else, and just checking out what he needed, if he needed anything, do you need some more food in there or whatever. But yeah, Stijn de Volder looked like he had things under control.
So then, we've had a bit of a chat about the route. We're approaching the 10 kilometres. Gone, but Magnus, where do we begin in our quest to predict the unpredictable? This race, well, I guess we should start with the three most talked about favourites. Last year's winner, of course, Fabian Cancellara. Three-time champion Tom Bonen, who's looking to become the man who's won this race more than anybody with a 4th victory today. Cancellara at the same stroke, trying to equal him, as is Stein de Volder, who's nobody's really talking about, because, of course, he's supposed to be working for Cancellara. We shall see. And Peter Sagan as well. Last time, 3-time winner Bonen was sent to hospital after 19...
Het is een lange recht.
Dan net kunt je van 5 minuten terug.
Cancellara daar.
De Volder. Woesel.
Paulini is terug.
Paulini.
Sport is sport, and it has to be won. It's a job to be done for him. Yes, he's going to enjoy his day, but he has come here to take the victory. Hasn't been winning lately, but Magnus, he's got a knack of really performing big on the big days. Of those three, who do you see as being the main man?
Well, I certainly think Sagan is going to be very dangerous in today's race. I struggle to see past him. He's climbing well, he's sprinting phenomenally well. And with all of that, you know, it's going to be one of those days where, depending on if the big guns start sort of cancelling each other out, and we might get a surprise winner, and the surprise winner may very well be Stein de Volder. I think if he's riding for Cancellara, he's going to have to go on the attack.
Starts. It is 2.2 kilometres long, maximum gradient of 11.6. 1.5 kilometres of this climb are cobbled. It's an interesting one in that it's quite different than the rest of the climbs in the Tour of Flanders. It's the longest one, steepest as you see it, around 11% there. Often described as the odd one out around here. It's not short and steep and decisive. This one is just going to grind you down.
Yeah, I mean, 11.6% is still steep enough on the steepest part. But yeah, there's just this drag up, and it gets a little bit steeper and a little bit steeper, and all of a sudden, round about now you hit the cobblestones, and that's where it really kicks up. But the hardest part about Ronde is not actually the climb and riding up here through this little part, and then you go through the village, and that's when you get another 1.5 kilometers of cobblestones, and that really does hurt you quite badly. So you get over the climb here, and if you're really going for it, it's borderline when you can actually go on the big chain ring. Yeah. For me, it was always a bit over the top. You try to save your legs here, ride as intelligent, as clever as possible, try and save the energy, and just as you come in through town, change it up to the big ring, and that's where you hit it. And if we're looking at the E3 prize, when Geraint Thomas and Peter Sagan actually just managed to get with Geraint Thomas when Geraint put the hammer down across the flat section of cobblestones up there, I mean, that blew the whole race wide open. And so that's where I think we'll see a big move up on the final time up the Ronde, and that's, I reckon, race selection.
This is the real classic season. Look at all the people. Look at the Lion of Flanders being waved right in front of the faces of the riders. It's noisy, it is crazy. There's a few pints of the old amber nectar have already gone down by this time. Frites in the air, everything flies. There's a big smell around.
They'd started with that already by sort of 8:30 when we got here this morning. So, it's certainly a big party atmosphere, and
as you can see as well, they come from all over the world. The Aussie fans are there as well. They've got the Australian team represented. Daryl Impey, the South African rider, riding for them. Wanty were the two riders at the front. Of course, they are Van Lanschot and Wesley Crader. These cobbles fairly well maintained compared to quite some of the other climbs.
Yeah, certainly up through the village here, and then when you get out onto the flatter section, or falls flat as I like to call it, that's where it gets a little bit rougher. But yeah, up the steep part of the climb, quite rough, and then through town it's almost like we better make it looking nice in the village, and then as soon as they leave the village, and they kind of forgotten to do that bit, and it turns proper cobbles again. Kaczynski on the front then, going through the village.
Katusha rider, riding most probably for Luca Paolini today. Alexis Sartovic is a fast man, but not the sort. Fighting for position. Belgian racing is different. You've already said that. We've seen Mott Renshaw, who's famous for being Mott Cavendish's lead-out man. Now at Megaformer Quick Step, not really riding this race, but he said this week, he was back riding in De Panne, I think it was, he said, it's been a while since I raced up here in Belgium. You forget how crazy the racing is, and you need to focus every second. How is Belgian racing different? For somebody watching a classic for the first time today, of which around the world I know there are lots of you, welcome, and Magnus Bagstad's now going to explain how it's different.
Well, there's a lot more stress going on in the race. It's a lot more aggressive, and because you're going from wide roads to narrow roads onto cobbled sections, onto steep climbs, some of them cobbled climbs, some of them normal tarmac climbs, you need to be aware of the circuit. You need to know where, basically 2 kilometers out from any turn onto one of the, should we call them obstacles, you need to know exactly what's there. So the riders go out, they recce the course, they kind of take market points, you know, big white house on the right hand side is 2 kilometers to the left hand turn on to the next section, all these kind of things, just to try and sort of race in a calmer way where we can settle down a little bit, maybe go drop down to the sort of 15th, 20th position in the peloton, and then you just nip around just in time to turn onto the obstacle as such in a good position. But you know, they do a lot of what they call the kermesse racing here in Belgium, which is basically a local lap around the church, you know, 15k long lap, and that as well is the same kind of thing. There's a lot of cobblestone sections on them, and it gets raced at 45 kilometer plus an hour, and with that you tend to have to always get into position as well, go through these the little towns and whatever, and with that you learn to spot where you can take shortcuts, how you can take shortcuts, and how you move around to get yourself into position in the safest best way.
On this climb, you recover a little bit because we need you for a long time. Good job.
A conversation there between the domestiques, the workers, the riders who are working for the likes of De Volder and especially Cancellara today, saying, just save yourself on this climb. We need you for a long time left. This is the first of 17 Hellingen, they call them round here, which are hills. We've also got 6 sections of flat pavé, and you know this area well, Magnus. You've lived and trained in this area when you've ridden the Tour of Flanders, of course, on the old route, I must say. But you know these sections of pavé. Are there anything that's anywhere near as difficult as what we see next week in Paris-Roubaix, or is it a different animal altogether?
Completely different cobblestones.
And of course I asked you because you're a former winner of Paris-Roubaix.
Yeah, completely different. I mean, the worst section that we got in this race is probably like the best section in the Paris-Roubaix, and yeah, it's still difficult, very difficult indeed. But yeah, it's nothing that really compares to the Hell of the North, which we see on next Sunday.
Older Quaremont being negotiated for the first time of 3. A Megaformer quick step riding at the front. Remember we talked about Tom Bonen. There's other options though, aren't there? Nicky Terps has been riding fantastically well. Guillaume van Kerspelk, who's doing a lot of work towards the front early on, which suggests today he's going to be used early. And here we go.
Puncture
for one of these Sky riders. And the Sky rider in question is Salvatore Puccio, Italian rider. Sky today come with Geraint Thomas.
It's going to be a lot of chasing on for him now, with still a long section of cobblestones to be done over the top here.
A lot of work to be done. Tinkoff Saxo changed their name over the winter. There's Michał Kolar, Slovakian rider. Just in front of him, Kevin Ister, the man who came in for Heinrich Hausler.
I think if you can actually see on the guy sitting on the front here from the Omega Pharma and Trka Factory racing teams, they got themselves onto the section of on this climb and the cobblestones front row, and you can see how calm and just they're not really putting any kind of effort into it. Whereas the guys down the back here, they're scrambling for position. They're really having to work really hard to stay even attached to the peloton, and that's just a different way of spending energy. You spend all the energy getting yourself onto the section, and then you can recover, like we just saw in that clip from the team car. They're saying, like, look, try and recover on the climb here now, because we need you for a very long time yet. And although those two kind of contradict each other, you know, recover and climb don't really go well together, but because you get on there, front row, you can settle down, you can catch a bit of a breath, and then you've got to do it again for the next climb as we go up onto the main road here. We're only talking about a couple of kilometers before we turn left again and turn off the road and off the main road, and that's where it's all going to start again.
And here it is, one of the wider sections. This is the time when the peloton can reorganise, bunch up, and there is a 9-10 kilometre gap between the climb here.
For Androni for this race, and as you can see, he had a teammate with him, is deep, and they just keep on coming again and again and again, and obviously chucking in a bit of cobblestones in between. It just keeps on eating your energy away, and you can see it's. I mean, it's a decent little ramp up here.
Lambre rider Paolini. There were a few bits of panic amongst those watching and writing in earlier on, because they picked Luca Paolini for the win, and there's only an extra O in there, and the change of spelling. A few got worried that Paolini had played all his cards and gone in the morning breakaway. That's not the case. He was never going to want to do that.
No,
Andrea Paolini is the 105 riding in the slightly changed Lambre kit this year. It was certainly much more pink last year. Lambre on, chance for him to get back on before they get on the Col de Caire. But we're getting to the part in the race where if you have punctures, it's going to take a lot of energy out of you to get back up the front, Magnus.
It certainly does. I mean, it's a big chase, and with the climbs coming so quickly between each other, you know, there's no flat to really settle in and race on either. So you need to hit the panic button and really get going. Daryl Limpy making his way back on here, riding very strongly, but that will have you can see the effort he's having to make to get himself back into the breakaway again, and you know, that's certainly not a good thing for the long run, although Daryl Limpy, you know, incredibly strong rider, so I think he'll sit on the back of this now for a little bit, recover, and the guys in the breakaway will know.
They've really taken a lot of their classics potential with them.
Yeah, they have done, but then again, you know, they're a fighting squad. They've never been one of the big teams that you think of as favourites potentially for these races, but they always fight and they always manage to somehow pull off a half-decent result. I could just spot David Miller there. Bradley Wiggins is on near the front here as well for Team Sky, so he's riding well, and it's good to see him up there, and you know, obviously quite happy in this current position.
Oh, I wanted to ask you about Brad Wiggins. We've been waiting to see him today to have a good chat about his presence. He wasn't actually supposed to be riding this race until 3 or 4 days ago. Ian Stannard was down for it. Ian Stannard would have been one of the favourites for this race as well, yeah, considering his excellent form, his win in All Up Het Nieuwsblad. But the former British champion had an awful crash in Gent-Wevelgem last weekend. He fell into a ditch on the right-hand side of the road, hit the wheel. He was one of many guys to go down. Remember, Andre Grijper went down out of this race as well. Marcel Sieberg, Lotto decimated. Sky luckily only losing the one, but it's a big loss as well. He fractured a vertebra, off his bike for a month. He misses Roubaix as well. But talking of Roubaix, Brad was supposed to be down for that next week.
Yep.
Is this a race where he's going to get form for Roubaix, or is this a race where we can really look at him as a contender? Is it a domestic job or as a contender for today?
Well, that we'll have to wait and see with that. I think if the race turns out to be hard enough, and if Brad is on top form, then you know he can certainly climb well enough to really stay in this race and be a contender as such. But I think, with Brad focusing on Paris-Roubaix, and it's clearly stated that he's going for the Paris-Roubaix this year, racing Tour of Flanders is basically key for the preparation for
next week. That's more sort of his race, you feel?
Yeah, I'd say so. But he's a strong rider and a very good rider in that. So, you know, this wouldn't. I think in a couple of years' time, with a bit of experience, this could certainly be a race for him as we go up the Eichenberg. This is a tricky one. When you turn left off the main road down the bottom, you've got a sharp right-hander and a sharp left-hander, and then you come into the climb. And as I remember when I rode it last time, the best bit of road to actually ride on here on the cobbles is down the left-hand gutter, where on the right-hand side of your picture here now. But that's where all the people are standing and barriers are up, where you used to nip onto that little bit of tarmac, get a little bit of speed up, so you just turn onto the tarmac and make a big acceleration, swing back out onto the road, onto the cobbles again, and with that you're carrying a bit of speed when you hit the cobbles. So clearly the organisers are now happy that, you know, let's keep them on the stones the whole time and make it the same for everyone.
Well, now that they have to ride on the stones, let's have the experts' view. How do you ride on the cobbles? Because we can see here, Finney's holding the hoods.
Yeah.
Behind, you'd see most riders probably riding on the tops, I think. Well, again, some with mitts, some without mitts. Some like to get the feel. I know that you don't like riders riding without mitts at all.
No, definitely
But Tom
not.
Bonham, for example, likes to ride without mitts. And there's a lot of different techniques. How do you feel is the best way to approach riding here?
Well, it's what you're comfortable with, where you're comfortable holding and where you get the most power into the bike. And, you know, I would probably be, certainly on the climbs, I would be the one holding. I'd hold on to the brake levers on the hoods and ride it like a year. When you mess up the corner and come into it quickly, and you realise all of a sudden you're banked over, and there's a traffic island that you didn't think was there, and all of a sudden the only way to get around it is by jumping it and turning on the other side again. So yeah, just awareness the whole time and focus. So we get a couple of questions in here as well. Why we get all the punctures in today's race?
His race and his season was destroyed as well. It is not just about the form. Eikenberg time for the peloton in the meantime. Onto the cobbles they go for the second time today. This is the third of 17 climbs, and we've seen very, very good news for Thor Hushovd. He's back on the bunch, but again, he's had to work hard for it.
Yeah, he's had to work hard, but looking at
and
how
Breskel's with him as well.
Yeah, Breskel's with him as well. He's pedaling nicely, Thor, though. Looking at that, he looked comfortable getting back in there, so that's a good sign for Thor Hushovd.
Looking for a few giant Shimano jerseys. John Degenkolb, an interesting man today. We've got a question from Paul Allen in Australia, who just asking about John Degenkolb. He won last week in Gent-Wevelgem. He was in excellent form in Paris-Nice. He took a great stage on the Mongicourt race circuit that day.
Yeah.
There's a lot more of an obstacle here today. How do you rate his chances? He's a sprinter from Germany, but not the typical sprinter.
No, he's not the typical sprinter, but he's done well in the last few races up here in Belgium, and he's certainly looking very sharp. So he's one of these outside bets, really, that I think if the race pans out in the right way for him, he could actually walk away with a win here.
Well, we're hearing that the lady hit by Johan van Summeren is unfortunately in a very critical condition. So cross our fingers and hope for certainly much better news from the hospital there. 130.7 kilometres to go in the race. Trek Factory Racing, Omega Pharma Quickstep, Katusha and Cannondale all near the front. We've seen some Sky Riders up there as well, which suggests that we've seen Brad Wiggins in good form. It certainly suggests that Geraint Thomas is feeling better as well. Time for the Wolfenberg for the breakaway. It's just 645 metres long. No cobbles here.
But the cobbles come very, very shortly after those, so that'll make life interesting as well.
Well, we've got the Kergate, which comes afterwards, which is a small cobbled section.
Yeah, the Kergate is well, I wouldn't say it's a small cobble section. It's you know, you've got an 800-metre section, and then you turn on to a 2.5-kilometre section as well. So it turns out to be quite a tough one.
Hanging on at the back for Wanty, Group Gobert. James Van Lanschot. He's been in a couple of the Classics breakaways. I remember back to Omlot Het Nieuwsblad, I think it was. He was out there. This is the peloton. Just look at the people on the roads. Again, very different to the 24 degrees and sunshine we had yesterday. It's remarkably cooler. There's a chance of rain, but that's not going to get in anybody's way. They're out on the side of the roads, and this is a chance for people to take the gutter where there's no crowd there.
No, there wasn't any, and that's just the Eikenberg. On the top of the Eikenberg, you got these tarmac sections on the side of the cobblestones just as you get to the top and turn out onto the main road. And we only have a couple of kilometers of normal road here on the big road, and then we turn off it onto a narrow section, drop down, and then start climbing the Wolvenberg, which the steepest part of that one is 17.3%. So it's certainly a tough enough climb. And then as you get up to the top, watching these guys here now in the breakaway, you get onto Ruitenstraat, and that is cobblestones.
It is the Ruitenstraat then. Peloton 4 minutes and 13 seconds behind. Really are into the big business now, the Tour of Flanders. Morning break is hanging out there quite nicely at the minute. We've gone from 11 to 10 riders, then briefly to 9, back up to 10 again with Darrell getting on the back. And Wanty, the team that are the best represented. 2 riders there. Looking at them for the overall, you have to say there are maybe 3 names that jump out at you there. Bjorn Leukemans, Frederik Vukkelen and Mirko Selvaggi, but none of which are in the top tier of favourites.
No, not really as such, I wouldn't say. But, you know, you never know, really.
It could be one of those days we said right at the start, where everybody just watches each other. The tactics for each are going to be...
Oh Taylor! Oh Philippe! Oh Jelle! Oh Jelle!
The great thing about this racing is it's so unpredictable, anything can happen.
Yeah, I mean, it is these races, like we said, you know, they are very unpredictable, and anything can happen, and we've seen already with the crashes in a number of races, and as we've seen, a lot of the teams come up here as well, and just really has. They've spent time here. They've been wrecking the course. They've been checking out which direction do we actually come onto these climbs on when we do the Tour of Flanders, because it might be different to when you race the E3 or the Waregem or whatever it might be. So just familiarising yourself with it is absolute key.
A Wolvenberg graphic up there. 7.
Well, and it's actually looking a lot easier. Obviously, I haven't ridden it yet, but it looked a lot easier than what I remembered it to be.
Maybe it was just your mind. They always say it was harder in my day, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was always harder in my day, and obviously it is a different thing when you're on your bike as well. You don't feel it as well, the vibrations quite as well in the car.
Jim Songetso in problems there for MTN Quebec, the first ever African Pro Continental squad. They have the German rider Gerald Ciolek riding for them, winner of Milan-San Remo last year. Interesting that many of the big guys are choosing that this is the moment. They're going to stay at the front here. Luca Paolini was one of them.
Yeah, it's key that you're up there. Svein Tuft having an issue there. Looks like a flat rear wheel.
Former Canadian national time trial champion Svein Tuft. He's a big, strong guy. He's one of these guys who, if you're riding in a Grand Tour stage, he'll ride on the front and bring the breakaway back on his own.
Yeah, he's, I mean, very strong time trialist as well. So, you know, he's a strong, good man.
Ja.
Is the Kergate, 2.65 kilometers long. And as you can see, just look at what the hands and the positions that everybody's riding on. Most riding on the top, some on the hubs. And as well, when you're riding on the cobbles, you want to get the weight firmly on the bike, don't you? You don't want to lose any traction, certainly when you're going uphill.
Certainly when you're going uphill, yeah. I find that, moving myself slightly further forward on my saddle and sitting on the top of it made my weight more central on the bike, and which means the bike was kind of pivoting underneath me a little bit easier. But everyone has got different ways of riding. You can see some guys are turning in massive gears and just grinding their way through over the cobbles. Other guys, they ride it with a very high cadence. The only thing is when you ride a high cadence is that your bike tends to slide underneath you a lot, and it doesn't feel like it's you're in control of the bike. But if you get past that sensation, you get used to that sensation, it tends to be a more effective way of riding it. And certainly, should you have any problems, anything happening in front of you, slowing down the, having a low cadence and you're riding a big gear, it's going to be very difficult to get the bike up and going again.
Orica Green Edge having a rare good moment at the front here with Daryl Impey. I tell you what, they'll be in touch with their tyre representatives this week because they've had umpteen flats already. I'm not sure which tyres they're running. It's probably better. We won't want to embarrass them in front of everybody watching, but they have not been good today.
No, they haven't been good, but unfortunately sometimes you get a bad batch of tyres or a batch of tyres that haven't actually cured properly, and with that you end up with more punctures than you should do, really. And I've unfortunately gone through seasons like that as well, where you just
the way he's been racing recently, we haven't seen him towards the end either. Pipo Pozzado, does he have a chance?
Looking at the recent races, I don't think it's going to be a massive feature towards the end of this race. You never know, though, but unfortunately, yeah, he's underperformed quite dramatically this year, and it's not nice because Pozzado is such a class act on the bike. He does, when he really gets himself going well, then he's a man to be reckoned with on just about any kind of circuit.
And he's got a good man working for him today as well, in the shape of Sacha Modolo, who's in such great form.
Yeah, definitely. But as things have stood over the last few races, I think they're better off going with Modolo.
We shall see. That may be the plan. Could just be hiding it from us. As we go through Mater. Now, you and I were on this section of cobbles this morning, driving it, having a last look at it. What were your impressions, your final impressions of it? You said that they'd looked after them a little better.
Yeah, it almost looks like they've redone them and reset the stones. I mean, it's always been relatively nice through the town, but
Go on, Tyler.
oh, Belisol riders come down quite hard.
That's not good. That is not good. And the Lotto rider in question is Jurgen Roelandt. Dear, oh dear, oh dear. This is the man who was so strong for them last year. This is the man who is leading their squad this week. They've had problems a week ago. They had Greipel down. They had Seberg down. Both of them out, and I'm afraid the way that is looking for Jurgen Roelandt, that could well be it. We shall see. He's not looking good.
No, he's not looking good. I don't
looks
think
like it could be a collarbone.
Yeah, certainly something broken, that's for sure.
Well, Jurgen Roelandt in the important group with Cancellara and Sagan last year. He was there on the Paterberg. The Swiss then left them both for dead. Roelandt came in with Sagan, ended up on the podium. Before today, he was saying he could stay there. We didn't manage to see the fall itself, but that's the result of it, and I'm afraid that Roelandt looks in trouble. Aiming for the podium, not feeling good at the minute.
No, that's race over.
And in fact, they're just making sure he's... example, last week, who remember 12 months ago rode the best Flanders of his career. He was so strong. He looked in a great position to win Ghent-Wevelgem. He went down with 6 kilometers to go. You'd have favoured him, the best sprinter in the pack. The train was doing great. Marcel Seeberg went down, and he's had to miss this race for the first time in his career. It's just not their week at the minute.
No, it certainly isn't, and it's a shame because usually there's Tour of Flanders is a big battle between the two big Belgian teams, and Omega Pharma Quickstep and Lotto Belisol, and you know, at the moment the Lotto are losing out in a big way.
Jongens, laat ook die mannen van Fiandre meewerken, hè. Niet te veel op de voorgrond.
Just saying that please let the other guys from the other teams do a bit of work as well. You're doing an awful lot on the front right now, so let some other teams do a bit of work.
Well, they've been drilling it, Omega Pharma Quickstep. They have the resources. We've talked about that at great length already. The gap now is the lowest it has been. 3 minutes and 59 seconds. 123.3 kilometers remain. Well, that's a couple of directors now. We've been back to the car, have said, hang on, let's not do that much work. Let's wait, let's wait, let's wait. There's a long, long way to go here.
Yeah, there is a long way to go. I mean, and they've been riding on the front for a long time as well. But sometimes, if a team is feeling good and motivated, and that.
Peter Sagan. That is Peter Sagan. He's getting a new front wheel. He's back on his bike. Luckily, he's behind the final car. Oh, another fall. Another fall. This time it's a Lamprey rider. And the Lamprey rider down is Elia Favilli. Let's hope he's back on his bike soon. Now then, the front group is splitting up. We've got no real images of that at the minute because our cameras are following the main men who are having accidents and crashes. But there's a group split and there's 1 minute 30 difference already. There is Sagan. Now then, what does he do here? Does he have to just calm down and try and wait until the cobbles are done to get back to the front?
Well, we only got a couple of 100 meters left on this road, and we turn left, and there's probably about 200, 300 meters, and then we turn out onto the bigger road. So for Peter Sagan, just calmly moving his way up there, and then when he get out on the big road, he's got a teammate with him, so they'll basically just turn out into clear space and make a big move up there, and he'll be fine.
Favilli back on his bike, which is good to see. We've seen Sagan there waiting. Is this a test of his maturity? Because I think we saw something that was quite calm and quite pro just a moment ago. He took his vest off, changed the water bottles over. He was thinking all the time when he stopped. He was thinking not just the wheel change. Okay, what else do I need? Let's do it now. Let's get it sorted.
Yeah, that's shown maturity and awareness at this particular time. So I think we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen in the back end of this race with Sagan.
Take a deep breath. 120 kilometres to go. It's all been happening so far on the 98th Tour of Flanders. This is the race of the people, the big one in this part of the world at this time of the year. We saw Lars Boom, a man from just over the border. Of course, the Dutch. $120Ks to go. Bottles being taken on. Time to go back to the cars and see how the DSs are living this one.
Hey, come on. Come on, eh? Do it.
Stay where you are. Just keep yourself out of trouble and stay where you are. It's perfect so far.
Well, Belkin coming here, wanting to turn back time to the 1980s, I think, when the Dutch were the strongest in the race. The riders took 5 wins in 8 years back in the 80s, the Dutch. There's Lars Boom, one of them. Belgian rider, though, representing the squad, representing their main champs today. That's Sepp van Marken. We've seen him crash early on. He looks to be in a good position at the minute, and you saw the DS calm there, quite happy with how things are going. Now, Van Marken, an interesting name. We see Boom going and doing a bit of bottle running, having a bit of a chat with the DS at the minute, but Van Marken... Shown back this year, Kuurne-Brussel-Kuurne, when he won well. 118.9 kilometres to go. There are 9 riders in this break. Impey, Kuczynski, Zangler and Wallace are there, as is Van Lanschot. Taylor Phinney as well is in the group, alongside Raymond Kreder, Andrea Palini and Stig Brooks. Daryl Impey is the South African rider for Orica Greenedge. Stig Brooks there in the Lotto. I hope he's got his earpiece in and he's listening to what's going on behind, because it's going to be a change of plan, as you mentioned. Great to have your questions so far, by the way. Remember, at Magnus Bagstad or at Rob Hatch TV, if you want to ask us anything before the business end of this race really does ramp up. Once we get onto the Quaremont for the next time, that's where we're going to see a big change being made. And if not there, what about Koppenberg this year? Just within 45 kilometres. And of course, that's the closest it's ever been to the finish.
Yeah, and the Koppenberg is certainly an interesting one, and this is an interesting section of cobbles as well, going up this little climb. There's usually a bit of a scramble getting onto, certainly if you're coming in the peloton, and it steepens up just around about this this turn. And it's been a few times actually when you're coming up a little bit further on. There's a little bit of a left-hand around about here, and I've been stuck behind people and not really been able to get past and get going again. So you need to pay attention.
Well, it looks like we're going back on board while the riders are on the Molenberg.
So boys, drink enough, it's 18 degrees, drink enough.
Just reminding,
it doesn't go, there's no descending, it basically stays flat for a good few kilometers. So it's a good opportunity to make an attack across there, and we see a lot of the BMC riders getting up there as well. So Greg van Avermaet, certainly the leader for BMC today, certainly a man that I think will be very close to podium at least, if nothing else.
Great riding here on the Molenberg by Omega Pharma Quick Step and Trek Factory Racing, really stringing it out and stopping any counter-attacks. A chance to test the legs for Tommeke. Here he is, and that just makes some nervous twitches behind. You sense that this is him just keeping out of trouble, isn't it?
Well, he turned on there and then just basically felt, okay, I got a good pace up here, and once you get a certain pace on the cobblestones, it's actually easy just to maintain that rather than slow it down, because the slower you go, the more the bike bounces up and down, and Tom just kind of having a bit of a feel, see how the legs react, because when you're sitting getting looked after in the middle of the peloton, you never really touch the pedals with that much urgency, and you almost start feeling a little bit sluggish, and you're not really feeling that sharp. So just making a bit of a dig, getting a bit of pressure on your legs, it's not a bad thing.
Well, this is what happened a moment ago. Bonen just puts his hand up. Don't think he wanted to cause too much of a problem.
No,
there.
we could see as well. Nicky Terpstra went on the radio and said, Tom, slow down, just hold up there.
Now then, this is what they wanted to prevent. Somebody coming round them. And a man who likes to attack from a long way, Sepp van Markets, his teammate this time that's having a little go.
Cialinghi.
And Martin Cialinghi is one of those who loves riding out in the front in bike races. He works hard for the team on big stages in Grand Tours.
Bit of crosswind up here as well. You can see everyone on the right-hand side of the road as we look at it, and everyone's making big digs here now, and it just there wasn't even a big attack or anything like that. Just a little bit of a pressure to kind of get back onto Bonen, and that caused all sorts of reactions down in the peloton.
That was just the 5th of 17 climbs. There's a lot more to come here. Nicolas Maas at the front to restore calm. That is until Cialinghi decides to have another dig. Follows straight away.
Yeah, just an opportunity here really to get rid of a few riders in the peloton. And
problem at the back, we imagine that Garmin are having problems with Tyler Farrer, is it? Because whoever it is being followed back and looked after. Garmin shot with Jack Bauer there as well.
It's Langeveld, I think, is the man who.
And he's their main man as well here, Langeveld.
Yeah, you can see David Miller looking after him as well.
Now then.
Van den Berg. Hagen.
And in trouble numerous times. We've seen Orica Green Edge with all the punctures. Garmin having problems. They've already lost Van Summeren, but the immediate concern is with the 65-year-old lady.
I mean, Gavazzi, they got Grivko in here as well. Grivko is certainly a strong enough rider, but unfortunately not the strongest team.
Roman Zangler in the red and white with a yellow helmet. Belgian rider riding for the French team Cofidis. He strings them out onto the Paderstraat. Paderstraat is the 4th of the 6 classified flat cobble sections today. This one is 2.3 kilometers long.
Yeah, it's flat for the first part of it, and then you turn up where they are now, and it's a bit of a uphill drag, and then you turn right, and it continues to be a bit of a false flat. So it's not an easy section.
Oh dear, oh dear,
crash.
this is a big one. A big crash, and if you're not right up the front, you're in trouble already. Riders spread all over the place. The road as thin as they can come round here, and there are riders from just about every team affected here. Pick up your bikes, pick up yourself if you can, but I'm afraid there are 1 or 2 riders who don't look like they are getting up. And one of them, it looked like Stein de Volder.
I was just about to say.
Stein de Volder down, and he's the man not getting up. Big problems there for Trek Factory Racing. Oh,
de Volder
dear, oh
came
dear.
in fast from behind there as well, so that was not good.
And de Volder's down. De Volder with problems. The photographs are being taken. The good thing is he's up on his bike, but Magnus, how's that going to affect him?
Well, it depends on if he can get back on quickly here now and get back into the race, but it's not looking good.
NetApp Enduro rider with problems as well, looking down at his wrist. We've had 3 NetApp Enduro riders involved. One from Wanty as well, and here we go, look around. Cannondale finds you can breathe a sigh of relief, but Peter Sagan not involved in that one. Heart-stopping moment or two. Oscar Gatto was involved, I think. So Stein de Volder there. So the 2 second-team players from 2 of the biggest teams in this race affected.
Yeah.
And we remain to see, or it remains to be seen, pardon me, how that affects. Let's see how it happened.
Just one of the riders gone too fast into the corners. A few riders then panicking, and that's just causing...
Netap and Giro rider also went down. You have to say that De Volder was a long, long way back there, Magnus.
Yeah, he wasn't clearly not paying attention to what was happening in front of him, because he certainly had enough time to slow down.
Well, that's one obvious reason why you have to be out in the front. Is it the only reason, Magnus? Is that why positioning is so important? Is it that simple?
It is that simple. It is that simple.
Now then, De Volder doesn't look to have any help. He's going to put his hand up. Wants a quick chat with the team car, perhaps, but maybe a little magic spanner.
Oh, he's lost a bottle as well, so obviously want to try and get another drink.
Oh, it was his DS as well, who was asking and reminding his team to drink well, and it could be quite a sticky
number of riders, and that's why they've ended up winning so many races as well.
I think the best example of that came back in Kuurne-Brussel-Kuurne. It was a 5 or 6 man group, and 3/4 of that group were all the Mega Pharma Quick Step riders. Tom Bonen basically handed the victory on a play.
Yeah, more or less, yeah.
Belkin were involved in that group on that day, as was Seth Van Marke. 3 minutes and 34 with 108 kilometers to go. So much still to happen here.
Yeah, still a bit of chasing to be done as well, because there's obviously a split in the peloton where that crash happened. So there's an awful large group.
Junior section of these races. Paris-Roubaix as well, he's done well. Young Flanders. He's an exciting rider who's shown his colours already by attacking in several races. But just look at this. Almost to a man, the entire Mega Pharma Quick Step squad right at the front now. Oh, and with another rider down. Is that a Trek Factory Racing rider? Well, it may well be. Now then, we need to find out who this is, because it came from the front of the group. And we really do hope that it's not Fabian Cancellara. We want to see that duel this year. Whoever is down is hurting, and is hurting big style. Need to get the camera in. There we go. Oh dear. Spectator a little too close. Messed up in the gutter. And well, we wait to see who it is. Rider down from Trek Factory Racing.
Popovic.
It looks to be Popovic. Jaroslav
fairly
Popovic.
certain it's Popovic.
Oh dear, he's got to be quick, and he's got to be careful. It's the experience of Jaroslav Popovic.
Oh, just a coat of that lady there caught his handlebars, and that was it.
And that looks like a bad one. Hardly moving at all there. And we've had problems for Trek Factory Racing. We've seen De Volder go down.
Yeah.
We've seen Popovic. Well, I'm afraid looking at that, he's not going to continue, is he? And that is not good. Again, it's on this cobbled section. It's so hard to get the cameras in the middle there, certainly when the race is happening up front.
Working better with the rims, and it is more aerodynamic. The rolling resistance isn't any worse. If anything, it's actually better than a 20. And wait and wait and wait, and the next difficult sections you go across. So just keeping De Volder calm and just waiting for him to make a big move into the group up there.
Doug de Mol has had a lot to sort out so far here.
I personally think, for Steen just sitting here, there's enough riders in there going to be desperate to get back into that move. You've got 3 Sky riders. Geraint Thomas is in there as well, just ahead of Steen de Volder. So they're going to want to get back into the race. So for Steen, just sit where you are. Just let the other guys take you in there. And as soon as you get back into that group, move right up near the front and get yourself onto the wheel of Cancellara, and don't leave that.
Murilo Fischer, the man in blue, doing the bottle running there for Française des Jeux. This is the small gap at the minute. Looks like it's all coming back together, but these are the sorts of things that are going to add up at the end of the race. The tiredness, the amount you've had to expend, the amount of work you might have had to do for a teammate. As you see, one of the Lamprey riders has a front wheel, holds it up. Quick stop behind from the man who was with him, who was Maxi Riqueze, the young Argentine rider. Movistar, Sky and Europe car working on the front to try and close this gap. De Volder sitting in a good place. And Brad Wiggins working at the front of this group as well.
Brad Wiggins sitting up there as well, so he's obviously been caught behind that crash.
Or he's been sent to look out for Geraint Thomas.
Could very well be.
102.5 kilometres to go. The gap in front really not important at the minute. 3 minutes and 35, we know that is coming back. We await that second crossing of the Oude Kwaremont, we think. Then, of course, the Koppenberg. That's when we really think, if it hasn't already really fractured, there will be a big selection made there.
Yeah, definitely. People put Zato up there as well in that group, together with Gerand, and I think I saw...
Oh, we've had a crash. Another Lotto's down. And it's Tony Galopin. What a disaster. An absolute disaster for Lotto. They've had the week of nightmares. Galopin, their remaining leader, crashing, hurting, now having to chase back, and on a bike that isn't his first choice. Tony Galopin not enjoying. The good news is his bike is deemed okay. He'll get going again. But, well, Roulon's down today. Greipel and Seberg down last week. Is there anybody left?
There's hardly anyone left in that team, and unfortunately, sometimes you get a run of bad luck like this, and it just doesn't seem to stop. And yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate, but here we go.
It's a constant fight in Flanders.
Yeah, he just got squeezed out there and onto the pavement.
He's probably fairly lucky he's only come away with a bit of pain that's allowed him to ride his bike again there, because that was a nasty little bit of... It's all happening.
Yeah, it's all happening.
Screaming down race radio at the minute. That's the problem for Rash, who's picked up some road rash. Looks as though he's hurt, but perhaps well enough to continue. We hope so anyway.
Yeah, I just spotted Bradley Wiggins down the very back of that as well. That little group there.
Rash is down. Of course, the spokes and tension being checked as the front wheel is put on for Gabriel Rash. And he might need some work to be done, but, well, he wasn't looking too good there. Hog hook time for the breakaway. 2 kilometres long. What can you tell us about this stretch?
Well, it's one that you drop down. It's quite a difficult one in terms of gear selection, because it drops down quite dramatically. So you need a big gear to go down the section on. And you only got a space of a couple of kilometres and you're onto the Leeuwberg climb.
The Leeuwberg climb is the first of a series of 4 without cobbles. Brief respite from the bone-shattering impact with each pedal stroke made here on the hog hook. Taylor Finney's still looking the strongest out here, and you would feel he should be as well, because he's the biggest name in this group.
Well, he's certainly a class act, Taylor Finney, and you know, he's had a bit of bad luck in a couple of races as such, but you know, if he's back on form and the legs are good, then he...
In addition to the Tour of Flanders. 7 riders remain of what was an 11-man breakaway. Zangler, Wallace, Van Lanschot. Of course, Crader's dropped off at the back. We can see Finney there. Kuczynski, you mentioned. Brooks is there as well. And, of course, Daryl Impey for Orica Green Edge. Impey's a rider who had a very good 2013. Part of what was a good Orica Green Edge season. This year, for one reason or another, it's not really happening for Orica Green Edge, is it, in most forms of racing?
No, not yet anyway, but you know, all it takes is for that 1 or 2 wins for the team, and then all of a sudden you're back on top of it again, and you know, the team gets motivated by other riders doing well as well, so bit of a tight corner on the cobbles.
And again, that rogue spectator wants to be careful, because he was not too far away of doing himself a bit of damage there, because Roman Zangler is not a small man. Here's the problem again. We've seen spectators causing a couple of crashes so far. That was one. Oops. Don't step out anymore, my friend.
No.
Keep your eyes on the road.
Had one spectator too many been hit already this in this Tour of Flanders.
Yeah, it's not a pleasant experience. The line of Flanders flags just about everywhere. On to the Leeuwberg then, just under a kilometre. It goes up 40 metres from bottom to top. 950 meters long, and as you can see, it's...
Said it's just borderline that you turn the big ring on there, and once you're over that little what should we call it, drag, then it is a relatively flat section, a little bit of the descending as you come into that left-hand corner that we were just saying on the cobblestones, and then as soon as you exit that, you're straight into the Leeuwberg climb.
96.8 k's to go. They're onto the Leeuwberg. Valkenberg comes afterwards. Maximum of 15%, that's a harder one. And it's been in the race all the way since 1959. Remember, half of the climbs that are in the race there now weren't in it until the 1970s. They've had a lot of route changes down the year. We've had all the hoo-ha and criticism of the route change in the last couple of years, but people forget that this is a race that's just evolved through time.
Yeah, for me, it's still a bit of a shame that we haven't got the Muur van Gerardsbergen. That is, to me, going up over the Kapelmuur, that is Tour of Flanders, iconic images of Tour of Flanders, and I remember that when I was a little one back home watching it on the television the first few times, and the guys, you know, going up over that one, from Baldato, Edwin van Hooijdonk, and all the...
Come on, James! Come on, James!
And you know, just you kind of forget as well that Bernie is a man who could actually be up here in this kind of race.
He's won game level game in the past, hasn't he?
Exactly. He's been up there in Paris-Roubaix. He used to be a very fast sprinter himself. So the fact that he's settled down as a bit of a
he's a road captain
nowadays. You know, I'd still quite like to see Bernie do a few races for himself and just kind of show what he can do, because I bet you he'll be right up at the pointy end of it.
Well, he's there around 10 bike lengths back. Andre Amador nice to the front as well for Movistar. It's good to see. There was a little whisper that Alejandro Valverde was going to ride this after he showed very, very surprising form in Dwars door Vlaanderen E3 Harelbeke. In the end, he went back to Spain. He's going to lead the team in the Tour of the Basque Country, and he won yesterday in the Gran Premio Miguel Indurain. So that's turned out to be the right decision for them, and the reason he was over here was to gather up some experience for the Tour de France. Now, Sebastian Hinault out the back in trouble, and he's not going to be riding this race for too much longer, I don't think.
No, definitely that's the end of it for him. That's
Hey, Leo! Hey, Tom! Come on! Hey, Sap! Hey, Stan! Come on, Stan!
Lara Castle, taken again yesterday when the sun was shining. This is today. This is all about the racing. All of our resources directed at what's going on the road. If you want to try and look for him, we've commented on this. They've got very similar body shapes on the bike, have the Quick Step boys.
Yeah.
They have this aero kit that sticks to their bodies. They've all got their big biceps out there. It's hard to differentiate between the different riders because not much of the face is showing as well. But if you want to look for the main men, look for the rainbow bands of Tom Bonen on his sleeve, and of course the Dutch flag for Nicky Terpstra.
Yeah, and I just spotted a rider from Sky that we completely forgotten to mention, a young rider in Luke Rowe who...
Good season, and he lives down near you, doesn't he, as well?
Yeah, definitely. And you know, he's a man who loves the cobblestones and loves all this type of racing. So Cannondale rider there with a bit of a, I think it was a rear wheel puncture as well. But Luke is certainly a man here for experience, maybe more than anything, but certainly someone who could possibly be in there to challenge for, you know, a good position. Maybe not for the podium, but certainly right up there. Fabio Sabatini having a rear wheel puncture.
Cannondale have been unlucky as well with mechanicals today.
Rescue run of you know, getting caught up in a crash. It's not maybe your problem.
Now, Cancellara. What's happened here? That he can stick out there and make Megaform a quick step chase. Is that how they're going to do it?
Well, I don't think you're going to get rid of Tom Bonen in that way. I think, yes, definitely De Volder or any of the Trek Factory racing guys that are in there who got the legs for it will need to make some sort of a move and try and create a reaction and bring it back down to man against man for the three big guns. And at that point, it's just going to become who's. Classics, as hard as this one, or as hard as it is next weekend, is a completely different thing. It all depends on what you got left in your legs and in your body. If there's any ounce of energy, and even the you know, 0.1% is what's going to make the difference whether you win or lose that bike race. So yeah, I think we'll see a very, very interesting final. Some tactics in there as well. It's going to certainly play a big part, and I don't think that will happen until we come down to make.
Last 60 kilometres or so of relentless action forecast for that. In the meantime, people stocking up, people taking drinks, people taking food. And Peter Sagan just being marshalled back into the group. We didn't get a sign that he was in trouble. Maybe he just went back for a chat.
He might just have stopped for a quick comfort break, and this is one of those really annoying things when you're sitting in the peloton, you're sitting halfway down there, you're on the limit, and then the next thing you see is one of these guys just stopping for a bit of a nature break, and it, you know, just, yeah, you're thinking there's no way I would even come back if I stopped now, and let alone I'm struggling to hold on to the group, and these guys have just got that bit extra that makes such a big difference.
Cancellara, another man that stopped, and may have just been the trigger for Sagan to say, I'm going to stop and do the same, because
usually happens a lot like that.
If you have two favourites stopping, nobody's going to attack them, surely.
No, maybe not, but at the same time, you know, if one of the big guys stopped, then you usually get a whole convoy of people pulling over and stopping, and that slows everything down a little bit. But saying that, the guys out the front of this breakaway is holding on very strongly. He's still got 3 minutes. So there's plenty of legs left and plenty of pace left in that break.
Now Fabian, is he going to get his new helmet soon? We shall see. He's certainly going to get a little bit of food. Might well have got his new helmet further behind.
I think he would have got that when he stopped for a break. Bit of an attack.
Here we go. Valkenberg, time for a dart out the front, and Orica Green Edge having a horrible day so far. Time to light it out. Time. Minutes 59 now, and that attack just takes the pace off the gap. First time it's below 3 minutes.
Yeah, causing a bit of a reaction in the group here.
BMC getting involved as well, Lotto. And this is the sort of thing that Quick-Step were looking to prevent.
Come on, James! Come on, James!
You sort of cover things, but I think it'll all come back. Tor Huzhovd in there as well in that first part of the peloton, so Tor's still going strong.
Yeah, Hilden Ralston not too far back as well. And a couple of those are Omega Pharma Quick-Step riders. Two minutes 51, 86.4 kilometers remain. Interesting part of the race. We've seen Matthew Heyman working hard behind not too long ago. We've seen Svein Toft in trouble. Jens Cancellara having problems as well, and Jens Maurice having to stop. This one is being chased down though. And the peloton's starting to fracture, an interesting time. Remember, we have a brief delay now before our next climb. The next climb is the Caporet, and that comes with 77.9 kilometers remaining. No cobbles on it. And everybody just deciding if this is dangerous at the minute. Again, conversations. Road captains need to use their head quickly. DSs, of course, they're all watching in television in the car.
Yeah.
If they see something they don't like, Magnus, there'll be a shout down the radio straight away.
Straight away, you'll get that, and then it's just a question of trying to create that the reaction to it, whether you can get out and get some clear road in front of you and to bring it back or not. But certainly a bit of a reaction being caused here, and a bit of a split in the group as well.
Bit of a script in the brook. Kofidis monitoring things. They've got it under control. A little look behind. Superstar, Langeveld, who's made the move from Orica Green Edge over the winter. He's a man who loves this race. He's from over the border in Holland, but a man who did lead the chasing group in the final climb in the last edition. So he was just behind Sagan, Brulont, who today has crashed out, and Cancellara. So he was in the mix last year, and he'd hope to be there again today.
Yeah, definitely, and it's never good when you end up sitting down the back there. It's a few small
We jump
attacks.
only in, not make acceleration by yourself now, only jumping in.
So yeah, clear directions there. Don't actually do any racing yourself. Just follow the wheels. Big descent down towards Brakel here.
Valkenberg not too long ago. And for Yellow Ballets, it's race over, I think. Look at that.
Yeah.
That is a face of pain. And remember, this is a long race. Yes, there are 82.7 kilometres to go, but he's been out in the break. Remember, 259 Ks. He spent well over 150 Ks at the front.
Yeah, some of the riders go on the other side of the bus park there, but clearly any road available to ride on, it's all good. But yeah, once you've been out there for such a long period of time, it is very difficult to change pace. And I mean, you will spend any energy that you have staying out there in the actual. Tend to sort of give them a bit of a turn. It's easy as well to pass any bottles over, as we now see Tink of Saxo coming to the front, clearly quite keen on getting out of the mess that's happening in the peloton and chasing for positions as well. So we've gone through Sint Maria Odebekke, which we're looking at only make sure that they come into the next climb in the front, don't get lost with any kind of more issues than what they've already had. And this is a tight turn, tightens up a lot with cobblestones on the exit. You want to make sure you don't get that one wrong.
Nobody did get it wrong, thankfully. Temperature at 18. It's not as cool as it was mid-morning this morning. Just been outside for a quick look at the finish line. That wheeze is getting up a little. Not enough to be a factor too much just yet. And as Magnus was describing just a moment ago, this is the situation in the peloton. Hayden Ralston right in the middle there, Kiwi champion. Remember, wherever you're watching from around the world, you can get in touch with us. At Magnus Bagstedt, if you want to put your questions directly to him. And of course, Alexander Kuczynski is the strongman from the Katusha team. The World Tour teams have stayed out there, of course, barring the rider from Lampre, Palini, who dropped off fairly early on. Finney riding well. It's a very, very good test for him. Magnus was talking about certainly the workout that he's looking to get before Paris-Roubaix next week. We're getting news of an abandon, and that is Johan Le Bon, who was involved in a crash earlier on today. Such a shame for him. He rented a house in the area, wanted to train and live like the Flandrians, as he said, but Johan Le Bon has had to abandon this race eventually after that crash we saw earlier on. 2:26 now. 80 kilometers to go in the 98th Tour of Flanders. De Ronde van Vlaanderen from Bruges to Oudenaarde this year. Rides himself fairly well.
Well, that's a good thing if we haven't seen Degenkolb yet. You know, you want to just tuck in there and make sure that you save as much energy as you possibly can. And I think he'll pop up here, unless we've missed him in one of the crashes, which I hope we haven't. Then he'll certainly make his presence felt in not too distant a future.
Well, Dan Dakin has written in, and he's asking you, Magnus, for those who haven't seen too many Tour of Flanders, we're conscious, of course, that we're going to a lot of countries for the first time in the world this year live. Is
these two races, Tour of Flanders, Paris-Roubaix, yes, it is normal. That is kind of what happens. And the funny thing is, if you're riding in the top 20 the whole time, 20, 30 riders, then it's not that many crashes. You never really see them. You get to the finish and you go, well, what happened? Why, you know, this half of the peloton is bandaged up and walking around at the finish already. But yeah, as soon as you drop back in the group a little bit, it does become very, very day.
On numerous occasions. You've won the week after in Paris-Roubaix. What are your best memories of the Tour of Flanders?
Oh.
Delve back into the mind, Maggie.
Best memories of Tour of Flanders. For me, racing myself, I think it was in 2005 when I basically spent the whole morning in the breakaway, 4 or 5 rider strong group, and I just seemed to have phenomenal legs, and the crowds got behind me because I still...
Oh dear, and we've had a problem for one of the men. Oh, and is that Nicky Terpstra?
No, he just stopped for a quick comfort break as well, so there's no major drama there, I don't think.
Let's hope not, because Terpstra, one of the main men. Again, as soon as the camera focuses in on him like that, you start to worry.
Yeah, you do, but...
There he was, you're correct. Well spotted,
yeah.
Maggie.
It was just doing a quick one on the bike, and with that you sort of tend to just... It didn't get it quite right, because the descent wasn't quite long enough. And usually if you're going to have a comfort break whilst on the bike, you tend to do it on the long descent.
They've had it, and they've had certainly plenty of action as well. A little too much for some of the riders' liking. Oh dear, we've had a rider in the ditch. It is problems for BMC, and the BMC rider in question this time is Sylvain Dillier. He's a neo-pro this year, but he's a rider who really has had a lot of people talking about his... This is the moment it happened, and it was followed fairly quickly.
Yeah, at least he didn't come off the bike too badly, so just a bit of an unfortunate incident to have to stop right then.
Sylvain Dillier, who actually won a stage
5 kilometers an hour, and you turn onto a very narrow section of road and then start the climb, so you need to be right near the front.
Canary-Berg, it is our penultimate non-cobbled climb. So after this, we're back on the cobbles, we're back towards the Oude Quaremont, and we've seen the first attacks at the peloton behind, we've seen the peloton splitting. The party's going to start now, and if you're not at it, you're in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, we really haven't got far to go now until the real racing is going to start, with the next time going up the Oude Quaremont.
Well, it's inside the last 60k when you really have to be alert, because it is berg after berg after berg, cobbles after cobbles after cobbles, and you can imagine that fight for positioning is becoming and here we go, it's attack time yet again. Quinziato having a go, and he's been followed very, very quickly as well.
By Trentino.
And Matteo Trentin. Trentini's a big rider from Italy. Strong rider. Fast guy as well. And this is what we expected them to have to do all day. Martial things. The 2 Italians have gone. Trentin on the left. Moves just into the front now, and here we go. Well, this is interesting. Not really content with keeping his powder dry. It is Bernie Eisel who has gone.
Well, this is a good move for, if these 3 riders can get away, then when the big favourites make their move, and I'm still counting Geraint Thomas into the favourites of this race. When they go and if they bridge up to these riders, and all of a sudden they got a teammate in there, and that helps an awful lot with whatever you set up to do. So good move by Bernie to get himself in there as well, and certainly a strong ride.
Trentin is the rider at the front. Italian rider just behind him is compatriot riding for the American/Swiss team, BMC, Manuel Quinziato. And then it's the Austrian riding for the British Team Sky in the blue and black right at the back of this trio, doing the work to get away. And look at the difference they've made of the break already.
Yeah.
A quick minute has been taken out of the gap.
Yeah, it definitely gets taken out very, very quickly. But looking at Darren Limpy was still setting a strong pace, and it just shows how fast these guys have been going up this climb here. And it's a tough climb, this one, because it gets very steep right at the beginning of the climb, and then it flattens out a little bit, and then it gets steep up towards the top again.
Flick of the arm from Trentin there. Bernie Eisel not coming through at the minute to do any work. He's just hanging and sitting on the back.
They wouldn't really expect that from me either, because if you bridge a gap to a breakaway, then certainly if you do it on the climb, you're not really expected to take a turn. And certainly they would have looked around, seen it was Bernie, and gone, look, he would have gone absolutely into the deepest part of the red on the rev counter as he possibly can to get himself in there. And as soon as he gets to settle down a little bit on the flat here now, Bernie will start coming through and taking some big turns, and they know he's a good man to have with him.
He's a hard worker. He's an experienced man. We've talked about his qualities early on in this race, and he is there up the front. Now, those giant Shimano jerseys we mentioned are hanging about, pedalling away, and we think that John Degenkolb is among them. We have heard not otherwise, and I'm sure we would have heard.
Yeah, I think I can actually spot him right in the top right corner of your picture right now in the black and white jersey.
He's been climbing well recently. He was climbing excellently in Paris-Nice.
Yeah.
Again, a race with not as much climbing as in previous years, but he was looking very, very good. Did what he had to do and stayed with the main groups. Inside 70k to go now. Canadiberg is done, certainly for most people anyway, unless you're right at the back here. 225 is Preben van Hekke.
As soon as you get up into... Oh, another big crash here.
And it's a Lotto man. Francis de Jure involved, as our top sport Vlaanderen. That looks nasty. Oh, no. Into a lamppost. We hope there's some movement down there. Saichev is down, the Russian champion. The man getting to his feet is from NetApp. He is Andreas Schillinger. And I'm afraid there's one more rider down there who we are yet to identify. One NetApp, which is Schillinger. One Katusha rider. I have a feeling that it might be another NetApp rider down there. Or is it Francis de Jure? It's a Francis de Jure rider. We wait to find out the ID of that rider. Thankfully, there's movement there, but Isaichev is hurt. Isaichev is hurt. He's the man in the Russian national champions jersey, and the way he is, I do not think he will be moving too much. Francis de Jure, well, he's got an invite. Here's Stijn de Volder. Trek rider there. Trek rider ready to do the business. He's fallen once today. You can see the mark, and you can see that big, huge egg on his left elbow. It's blown up, it's swollen, it's looking pretty nasty. Shit. Former and current Norwegian champion. Oh, and we've more riders down. MTN Quebecer and 1T with riders on the deck. The man from the African team looks in trouble. It's Martin Reimer, German rider down. And I'm afraid he looks in pain. Oh dear. And I think that is the end of him today.
Yeah, and that's a potential collarbone that's gone, so that's it for a couple of weeks.
2 for 2 is Jean-Pierre Drucker, Luxembourg sprinter. And he's an interesting guy if he can hang on towards the end. But I'm afraid he has a problem, and he is waiting a long, long time for his team car here.
Yeah, that bike isn't going very far, that's for sure. Oh, he might be gathering himself again. Yeah, back on the bike, see what happens.
Stijn de Volder at the back. Oh, and it was a little silly, all bunched up. That was the result of the crash that we were seeing in front.
Yeah.
The problem for the rider who was behind from Europe car was Antoine Duchesne, who's the Canadian rider. Martin Reimer down there for MTN Quebecer. .2 to go. A little further up the Olde Quaremont. We're back with the group, and I can tell you now there are two riders who've lost contact. They are Romain Zangler, right at the back for Cofidis, and just in front of him, James Van Lanschot. It means that there's only the World Tour teams left as we're on the front in the Olde Quaremont. 4 to 11.6%, 1.5 kilometers of cobbles, and again, keep going, keep powering, and remember, they've got to face this yet again later on in the race.
Oh yeah, definitely, and I just want to see what happens over the top here. Kuczynski having to let go as well.
3 of them at the front. It's Daryl Impey is the first rider in the white, blue and green. Just behind him, riding his first ever Tour of Flanders, is Stig Brooks, and looking very, very fresh still. Certainly considering what he's been through, is Taylor Finney.
And he's pedaling nicely as well. He's got a nice little gear that he's turning over and going very strong. Matteo Trentini's going strong up this climb, and Bernie Eisel is having to let go a little bit.
Van Bilsen coming up behind as well, but look at the peloton. Here we go, this is where the action starts. Tour of Flanders proper starts here. Marangoni on the left, working hard. Hard work being done through the middle as well. Geraint Thomas perfectly placed. Luke Rowe alongside him. Tom Bonen in the first 10 bikes as well. On the right-hand side, Sepp van Marke Sagan on the left. All the big boys are present. Step with a man on his own. Superb acceleration by Matteo Trentin. Now, Magnus, is this the right thing to do?
Yeah, I'd say it's the right thing to do because the pressure's going to be on here now over the top, and we're likely to see a smaller group catching up to Matteo Trentin.
So, who's going to attack those? De Volder and the Belgian national champion. Puncture and a problem. Oh, is that what stopped Taylor Finney?
What's that, Taylor Finney? I think
I'm not too sure. He's a big guy. I certainly hope it wasn't, because he would have drifted a long, long way back. We wait to see.
No, it's Quinciato.
Quinciato at the front. Another man who was out there in the break.
Geraint Thomas looking very good up there as well. He's not even pulling any faces up this climb. Quinciato definitely back into the peloton, quite far back in it, so it would have been him stopping for that wheel change as well.
54.5 kilometers to go. Christian Neys all the way down the back. It's too early for Sagan to go. Surely they're going to wait for Koppenberg before that big group is changed. Now, three very tired men at the front. Brooks, Finney and Impey. Brooks comes to the front, the left-hand side in the red and white of Lotto. This is what's happening here. Right-hand side we have Nico Maas. I should say, pardon me, Matteo Trentin.
Jens Kokelaar made the move across to Trentin as well on the later part of the steep climb of Eau de Quarmont.
Jens Kokelaar is a strong man.
Picking up the remnants of that front brake there.
Well, we've seen him having mechanical problems as well, Kokelaar. Right turn here, almost at the top. You can see where the road forks to the left. Now it's a very quick descent. It's quite technical, isn't it, Magnus, before we get to the Paterberg?
Yeah, it's relatively twisty. You turn left out here onto the main road, and then a bit of a drag up, and then you turn left off the main road, and straight onto the narrow section again. It does twist and turn a little bit, and you're coming into the next line, into Patersburg, probably doing 60, 65 kilometers an hour, and then it's a very, very tight right-hander. And as he used to be able to kind of, there's a gutter in the left-hand side. You used to be able to kind of use that as a bit of a banking to turn yourself into the climb. But now they put barriers up there, so you can't actually do that. You've got to turn before, and there's very limited space there to do it in.
Now then, two going forward, two coming back. They've all grouped together. New quartet: Trentin, Kokelaar, Zangler and Van Lanschot. Trentin at the back, Kokelaar at the front. And the two dropped off from the morning breakaway are still in the middle. They're chasing three in the front. And this is the trio. On the left-hand side, Daryl Impey. It's an interesting one because if Kokelaar can get up front, Impey could perhaps use the last of his energy to propel him later on. And Kokelaar, you say, is the main man, really, for Orica Green Edge. They played their cards early here.
Yeah, they have done. They've played their cards early. And if it sticks, then it's not a bad move at all. But looking at this, the peloton is coming across there with them.
Now then,
Cannondale moving as well.
bunch up at the front. Again, it's all about positioning. And I think we've seen the fight for positioning on the Kwaremont. Is it going to be worse on the Paterberg?
Well, it's certainly going to be a similar kind of thing happening again. But this turn, left-hand turn, you need to be in a decent position here already. Although it does string out quite well on the way down towards Paterberg, so you can move up a little bit. But it's going to take some pretty gutsy moves to do that.
Good work on the front here.
Just trying to see who that Cannondale rider is. Is it Gatto? The same, that sort of size of rider anyway.
Well, if Cancellara has gone, Gatto to come, this could be the moment that the second-tier favourites start to play their cards and you start to see the tactical moves.
Yeah.
And if you're a Trek fan here, you wonder where the heck the Volder is.
Yeah.
Now then, a Sky Rider getting involved. And again, quick step. Wow, 3 riders in this group.
Yeah, definitely good big move there. It's happening, and first time up Paterberg is going to be difficult. And this one, remember, is 20% at the steepest part. And the nice thing about this climb is that it's just...
Is there anything nice about the Paterberg apart from the views from it?
Well, it depends on how you see it, but it starts not too bad in terms of gradient.
Oh, we've had another crash. This time it's an awful one. De Volder is down again. 2 riders from BMC. We've seen Mitchell Docker in trouble, and this time I'm afraid De Volder is out of the race. Oh, and Tinkoff Saxo, 4 riders involved. We have seen it far too often today. Far too many people hurt, and hurt big time. And I'm afraid for Stijn De Volder, we're wondering where he was. And here is the nasty answer. Ouch. Riders just about everywhere. 2 from BMC. You can see Mitchell Docker just stopping in front of the post. He's okay. Now then, back to his teammate, back to the race. 47 seconds. Here's Taylor Phinney, really putting down the pace on the Paterberg. It's just 360 meters long, maximum of 20.3%, but it gets harder and harder and harder right to the top, Magnus.
The steepest part is probably about 25 meters from the top of the climb, and as soon as you get to the top there, you turn off onto a normal road again, and it's not dropping down any straight away. You kind of have to power, build up the pace quickly again.
Oh, look at the supporters on the side here. Peloton hits it at the bottom as well, and it's such a sharp right-hand turn, it's horrible. There's a lot of big names up the front.
Yeah, I just spotted Cancellara right near the front there. He's probably in about 10th, 12th wheel.
This is exactly where he made the difference last year, Fabian Cancellara. At the top of this climb, Kuczynski's drifting back. Trentin is pulling the rest of the peloton, and for the first of 2 ascents of the Paterberg, it is Taylor Phinney that crowns it. You get the feeling now, Maggie, that Tex Timer at the top of this, the man who's in front, if he's on his own in a very small group, is...
Thomas, when he rides his bike, he's so powerful in the saddle. He never really gets out of the seat unless he's in, in that position where he absolutely has to. But just holding his position on the bike so nicely, immensely strong in his core muscles and lower back to be able to do that.
Well, he's the only Sky Rider in the first 20 or so on the road. Bernie Eis a little further back. Kuczynski with whatever's left in him. Quinziato still close to the front.
Degenkolb right there as well.
Degenkolb, well, that is exactly what we were talking about earlier in the day, positioning.
Yeah.
can. Somebody's stopping for a comfort break.
Stopping for a comfort break. And de Volder clips the rider on. Oh, that's not good. Bad moments, bad place to stop for a wheel change though.
Well, I mean, the way de Volder looks on the ground there, you really wouldn't think he'd be getting up against that. No. Whatever he does in this race, hand off to him.
I think he's just landed on his on the arm that he crashed on earlier, so that would have just added insult to injury already.
Part about done then. And the next climb comes in 5 kilometers time, and it's the Koppenberg.
Yeah, Koppenberg coming up, and this has got to be one of the most difficult climbs there is to ride in any category, as far as I'm concerned anyway, because even if it's dry, it's under trees, so it's still slippery, and if you lose a little bit of momentum, it's just that steep that you can't actually build any speed back up again. So you have to hit it right. You have to have a clear road in front of you, and because of the cobblestones as well, and you're going that slowly up them, so the cobblestones tends to sort of change direction of your bike for you, and with that, I think the Astana rider here has just punctured on his front wheel. Yes, he has. All the riders still near the front, and Evel Bosenhagen for Sky right up there as well, so that's good. He's still in there. So a bit of chase for position coming up again. And I don't think we can say it enough times, really. It is just all about positioning in this race. Staying clear of the crashes, but that's also down to positioning. We've seen that in the front, the group here has split up because of that crash. Very limited number of riders left in the front end of it, and a big gap back. Big gap back. This is a good selection for the race.
Welsh flag there, cheering on Geraint Thomas.
Unfortunately, this selection happened because of that crash with Stijn de Volder rather than a big move.
Stijn de Volder just cannot stay off the ground at the minute.
Unfortunately not, no.
So, we collect our thoughts again. The riders try to do the same. Be nice to nip back to the team goals and see what chaos is going on there at the moment.
Yeah, Marcus Burghardt has just clipped off the front there now, just trying to put a bit more pressure onto the peloton. They've still got Taylor Phinney up there as well, but if Burghardt can get across, it certainly wouldn't be a bad thing. This road here leading in towards the Koppenberg is certainly not easy. It kind of drags a little bit, and you're kind of coming into the Koppenberg with heavy legs already, and then you turn right onto the and it's on cobblestones that you turn, and then onto the climb itself, and it is such a hard climb to ride.
Koppenberg then, slopes of up to 22%, as I said. It's a legendary part of the race ever since its first year.
I think we need to rephrase that, walls of up to 22%, because it is virtually
it's a
wall.
moor, yeah. as it's described. Just don't ask Freddie Martins about this hill, though. He famously lost an addition to Roger de Vleming here. He was disqualified for a bike change back in the day.
Here we go, Omega Pharma straight onto the front there with all the manpower that they have.
And look at it. It is extremely powerful. Look at the man second wheel there, Stijn van den Berg. He's pretty usually used as a main man to try and form an early counter-attack. He likes to go early.
Yeah.
But he's shielding the men who are Tom Bonen and Nicky Terpstra.
Sagan very prominent near the wheels of the Omega Pharma Quickstep riders on the right-hand side as well. Degenkolb just poking his face out there as well.
Zdeněk Štibar on the right-hand side. Quality group here.
Yeah, all the main players who made these selections, apart from maybe Benate, then who were kind of lost in the pre-talks really, but certainly a man who, you know, would have been certainly an outsider.
And he's a quick guy as well. You know, he started his life as a pure sprinter, let's say.
Yeah.
Now this is the chasing group. Here we go. 3 Sky Riders in there. Molly Starman as well. 2 from BMC trying to get involved. Now then, Lampre jersey at the back. Pipo Pozzato? We shall see. 46.2 Ks to go, and we are heading to the Koppenberg. Beast of a climb, feared by many, and first climb in this race back in 1976. It was, again, a local resident who called the organisers, who said, this climb's here, come and have a look at it, I think it could be special. And ever since, its name has been written into history books and folklore in this part of the world. You can see it from a long way off. We saw it yesterday from the A-Road, if you will. Went right past it. all lit up with the sponsors' names on the side, waiting to be ridden. Of course, 16,000 went over it yesterday. This is all about the pro peloton, and look at Omega Pharma Quick-Step and their positioning.
Yeah, Cancellara right up there next to Tom Bonen as well, with Sagan on his wheels. So all the main players are very aware of this race, this particular climb, and you need to ride it in the first 4 or 5 riders. After that, it's all happening, and even if you bump handlebars with someone on this climb, it's likely to throw you off enough to lose all the momentum, and you lose all the traction and basically struggle. And I mean, I don't know how many times I've seen people run up this climb. I've run up it myself with, you know, cyclocross style, bike on my back.
Eddie Merckx, he had to do it the first year it was in the race.
Exactly. Here we go then.
It's time for the Koppenberg. Always usually too far away from the end, but this year 45 Ks from the line. It might have a bigger say this year. We shall see. 3 guys onto it quickly. Look at how narrow it is up there.
Yeah.
And you described it perfectly. It is just a straight wall.
Yeah, and I mean, this is not even the steep part. The steep part gets about 100 meters further on from where the riders were just then. Here we go, rest of the group, front group. These riders made it back on, and they're chasing group who's in here.
And this is going to take anything they took out on the road out of them. This is hard. This is hellish, and this is where some big racing is going to be done. Almost an overshoot of the corner there from the Netap Endura Czech champion. And the Koppenberg's vital statistics, 11.6 average, 22% max. It's 600 meters of super horrible, hard, rough cobblestones. It's about survival of the fittest, and Stig Brooks on his first Tour of Flanders is losing ground already. A fight with the bike, a fight against yourself, a fight against your own capabilities, mentally and physically, Maggie.
You only have one speed on a climb like this, and you can't go any slower, you can't go any faster. It's just a grind up to the top, and Darren Limpy being the slightly better climber out of the lot of these guys, you can see he's just pulling out a little bit of a lead, but Taylor Finney is likely to just ride himself back on. Look at Tom Bonen going up here now, putting the pressure on. We've got a response from anyone.
Well, Cancellara at the minute on the right-hand side, he's not doing too much, sitting on the wheel. There are 4 Omega Pharma Quick-Step jerseys in front of him. Thomas goes up through the middle. Benati's still in there as well. Sepp van Marke once more. The break is almost over. Bonen's acceleration doing the business. Remember, it's only 600 meters long, but this is absolute carnage.
Yeah, Bonen's certainly put the pressure on the steep part there, but like I said, he just rode his tempo up there. Nicky Terpstra on there. Pete Sagan and Fabian Cancellara just making their way back on.
Terrible twosome, and what a twosome it is. Nicky Terpstra and Tom Bonen. There is Sagan right in the middle.
Yeah, and Stybar.
Stybar is, again, a man that most people think is very close to a big win. Watch out, watch out. Stevie's on the loose.
Oh, Nicky's just put a bit of an acceleration in there over the top.
And here he goes, this is the plan. Terpstra and Bonen together. A lot of people might not have been expecting that.
No, Degenkolb in there as well.
Bossenhagen.
Geraint Thomas.
And Pipo Pozzato for Lampre, just in front of Steen Vandenberg.
There should be enough for them to come back after this there.
Good fighting from Lobato as well. Amador is there as well. And here's Johan Alfredo. Johan Alfredo in the group. Some big names still there.
Greg van Avermaet looked like he was in a bit of a back foot there.
Eisel towards the back. There's Christian Nees as well. 1-2-4 is Michael Hepburn still in there. The Lion of Flanders blows in the wind. Not many riders roaring on this climb though. It is hard, horrible stuff. Impey's done it, Impey's in front, but not for much longer. The break of the morning is finally done, Magnus.
Nice little selection this is made though, have a look at that. You know, 20 riders maybe tops.
Now, in your opinion, put your neck on the line here, is that the selection that stays out to fight the race?
Well, I think Omega Pharma is just going to have a quick look and see who it is. Look at that.
Stop, have a look. Whatever you're doing, stand up and salute Steen de Volder. 3 times, at least, in our camera view today, on the floor. He's hurt. I tell you what, I doubt he'll be able to get out of bed tomorrow, but he's up on his bike at the minute and fighting for his own honour.
Yeah, he certainly is, and what a ride. Although it's a long way back to the front group from there if he's ever going to make it, but
Hayden Ralston in front of him. Now then, here we go.
Nicky Turfstra with a response from Cancellara straight away.
And this is perfect for a Megaformer Quick-Step. Absolutely perfect, because Cancellara and Sagan, they've seen Terpstra, they've raced against him in the last few weeks. They know that if they let him go, then we see exactly what we saw in Dwars door Vlaanderen, where he rides away 30 kilometers from the line and nobody can catch him. Tom Bonen, in that case, could sit up and say, hang on, my team's done their job.
Yeah.
At the minute, though, he can sit up and have the strength to attack them again further around the line.
Yeah, and I guess that for a Megaformer Quick-Step, it's going to come down to how many riders have they got here now? Are they happy to drive this on, and are they going to get any help from anyone? Because they've been so dominant so far this year. It's still 40 kilometers to go, so it is still likely that a smaller group will come back from you know, up to these guys again. Yeah, I mean,
it's set up beautifully.
It's yeah, it certainly is.
Now then, Tinkoff Saxo getting involved as well, trying to chase on.
One of the Garmin riders in there as well. Here comes the remainder of the group then.
42.6 Ks to go. What have we got left then? Maria Borrestraat is next. That's the 2 kilometer long last cobbled section that is classified in terms of flat cobbles today. Then we have the Steenbeken race. That is a non-cobbled hill, but 700 meters at 5.3%. The only such climb in the decisive part of the race is Cancellara now just takes on some food, and it looks as though there's a bit of a lull.
Yeah, not enough riders from the different teams to really drive this on. There'll certainly be a smaller group coming back on. And
Teyenberg is the next cobble climb, and you know what that means for Tom Bonen. It's his favourite one of the lot. Everyone will be looking at him. Here we go! Geraint Thomas on the left-hand side puts in a little dig. It's his turn to light up the race. You said he looked feel good. He's obviously feeling good.
Yeah, I think he's feeling quite strong as such, but is this the right move to make at this point in time?
Perhaps just a test of the legs. Stig Brooks, who's still up there trying to hang on, is just following him. Doing a great job on his first tour of Flanders, and even this select group we have, Magnus, is now still under fracture as well.
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, we still got the Maria Borrestraat 2 kilometer cobblestones, and then the Steenbek climb as well. So there's an awful lot of climbing to be done here.
After that, with the final 4 climbs, Teyenberg, Kreisberg, and then once more the pairing that we've just seen, Ode Quaremont and Paterberg. Question is, will things be decided before then? Stibar's looking good.
Christoph is looking good.
And Alexander Christoph next to him. Luca Paolini, well, if Christoph is there, then he becomes the leader because he's the fast man.
Yeah, he certainly is the fast.
And it's not a question of distance with him. He proved that in Milan-San Remo, of course. Yeah. Almost 300 kilometers. Climbing as well. It's not the completely flat race it used to be. Brooks at the front for Lotto. Zdeněk Stibar. Bossenhagen there. Darrell Impey still hanging on. Peter Sagan right on the wheel of Fabian Cancellara.
Good place to be.
Geraint Thomas, remember, he's already been on the ground today. You can see that little abrasion on his chin, the left-hand side where he's hit the deck.
Attack from Tinkoff.
And here come Tinkoff. Tinkoff Saxo attacking as we were just getting a quick look at the back of the peloton and seeing Pieper Pozzato there. Tom Bonen in the left.
I think Omega Pharma got one more rider in there from the little group that came up.
So they're in a strong position tactically.
Yeah.
And you get the feeling that with these moves, are they going to cover them all, or are they going to call some bluff?
Well, they have to call a little bit of a bluff and then maybe make one big move and with that bring them back. I don't think this is worth chasing down lone riders like this all the time. You know, it's too much work to do that.
Well, new father.
Dat is de hand de ploeg, kom. Nee, een van Saxo. Ja, Saxo, ja. Flámska.
Ja. Zo Hans het hier.
Voor de marathon.
Thomas er terug bij. Hey. Passato is er terug bij. Passato. Hey, Gatto. Paulini. Elio. Eso. Nee, dat moet nog komen volgens mij, zeg. Ja, bij de eerste. Verder. Kuczynski, laatste. Chef. Middenvelders. Popovic. Hey, kom aan.
Steenbeek and Dries. It's not as steep as the other climbs. It's 700 meters long. Straight off the Maria Borrostrat. We were told that the Steenbeek and Dries wasn't cobbled. I think they were telling lies. And listen to this.
Klas komt daar. Hier laat boom. Voor daar.
Wiggins, but I'm not 100% sure.
Steen van den Berg really drilling this now.
Yeah, just opening up a little bit of a gap.
Problem as well, is that Marcus Burghardt?
Yeah, Burghardt.
He's a man who was desperate to have a look at the route this week. He wanted the Google map and flyover, pardon me, the Google Earth map of the whole course.
Yeah, I mean, any kind of preparation that you can do to have a look at this is important. And you know, I even went through certainly for Paris-Roubaix. I even went through and filmed it to have all the sections and know exactly what was what and lead into the sections as well, so I can study it and. Do have markers taped onto your top tube, and that Van den Berg is pulling away.
Van den Berg is pulling away. He's being followed by Edvald Boasson Hagen. Interesting move. Giant Shimano getting a man. Is that Dries de Van Eins? We wait to find out. We're approaching the Teyenberg, by the way. It's been moved. It's gone from being the second climb to the 14th in the race. So rather like the Koppenberg, it's been given much more protagonism this year. And the Teyenberg, as I've already said, watch out for Tom Bonen. It's his favourite climb.
Yeah, it is one of his favourite climbs, definitely, and he's always put in a good, strong showing on that.
Shimano. Yeah, not always easy when you see them in the midst of a race. You get a brief look at the face covered in the helmet.
Bit of a move. Here.
And this is the response. It is Greg van Avermaet. Van Avermaet is there, followed by another Megaformer quick-step rider.
I think these just trying to get themselves back on, I reckon. I don't think they actually made it back into the group. I might be.
so many groups on the road at the minute, it is mightily confusing. Tegenberg is next up though. Tomika's favourite climb. This is the lead group, there's no doubt about that. And there's the confirmation. And here it is in that little bit of a gutter. This time is fenced off. It's Tegenberg time, 15.8% at its worst point, 530 metres long. This is the Tegenberg. And when we see Bonen attacking here, he often goes straight into the gutter. Today, those gutters are blocked. This is the tracing group behind, and in fact, they had come out. Van Avermaet, one. No longer a second captain, all on him today.
I would have waited a little bit though if I was Greg Van Avermaet, just stayed in there with the big favourites and have a go with them, because I think he's capable of going with them when they really put the hammer down on the climbs, rather than spending energy here now trying to raise himself back on. And there's too many riders in the peloton who want to stay, you know, with. On the front there, Pete Sagan straight up there near him as well in that group, just behind Van Avermaet.
And again, Quick-Step doing a great job, forcing Cancellara and Sagan to do all the work behind. Vandenberg getting out the way. And if he can join this group, nothing wrong with that for Quick-Step, it's good.
Certainly nothing wrong with that at all.
Van Avermaet in front, it looks as though he's going to be reeled back in. Cancellara and Sagan riding well.
Yeah.
Bonen on their wheel alongside Zdeněk Štýba and Nicky Terpstra. So the Tegenberg is done. 3.
Kör här då från. Da Hagen. Ja. En Fabian! En Fabian! Nee, 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 dat is hem niet. Dat is hem niet. Ja, zeer.
That Omega Pharma do have in this group, the better. And again, I think that was a quick look round from Vandenberg to say, hang on, do we have enough riders here? Yes, let's go for it.
Yeah, I think that was probably the case. And dangerous for everyone really. If Omega Pharma got too many riders, they don't really want to ride with those guys, because they're running the risk of getting work. And when you're getting a split like this, you need to have, you need to put the pressure in Tom Boonen, just going like, look, you boys do the work, I'll just go and sit down the back here.
Perfect for Tom Boonen, happy. Oh, look at that, Terps was there as well. John Degenkolb.
Watch out for this man.
Hat off to John Degenkolb. And again, perhaps another reason why they're trying to put the hammer down here and drop the man.
Yeah, definitely, but riding it with so much patience, I've got to say, the fact that we haven't seen him, he hasn't touched the front at any point, not done anything more than he necessarily have to, just keeping that patience all the time, and that is key for winning these bike races.
And there's a bike race to be won, a big one. We said right at the start of the day, this is a day.
Hey, come on, come on. Hey, kom maar.
To win a big bike race at some point soon. I mean, not that he hasn't won big bike races already, you know, stages in the Tour, etc., etc. But these one-day classics are something completely different, and the pressure on there, yeah, I don't know if I want to live with that.
7 seconds for Devon Hines and Edvald Boassenhagen. Boassenhagen takes what's left of his arm warmers off, and he's going to discard them. He's been nice and environmentally friendly, just shoves them in the pocket when other riders would have thrown them in the ditch, I think. Certainly with all the fans around, it might have been a nice present for somebody, that.
Yeah, certainly would have.
But no time to think about that. At the minute, it is Fabian and Peter versus the world at the front of that group.
Yeah, it's
already today,
but it doesn't have all the cobblestones that we might expect at this point, and might make it that little bit harder. But if there isn't cobblestones, they usually just go up there that much quicker instead.
Bjorn Loikemans and Sepp van Mark, we must mention those at the back. Sepp van Mark, we talked him up at the start of the day. He's been quiet since then. He's kept himself, after his early crash, out of the way, out of the wind. Rather like John Degenkolb, he's hidden away. And again, Bjorn Loikemans, one of the men.
Yeah, I mean, he's been up here before and in these races, and certainly is a man who climbs the shorter, steeper climbs very well indeed, and he's an outsider.
He certainly is an outsider, but a gift. So the group at the head of the race: Cancellara, Sagan, Boonen, Stibar, the first four on the list. 13 in total with Terpstra, Van den Berg, Mina for Agi Desert and Sepp van Marke. Van Avermaet, who started the move, Degenkolb, Devon Hines and Boassenhagen 13 riders, the last of which we just mentioned, Bjorn Leukemans. And if you're ever going to have a deluxe group on the road for classics racing, that might well be it, Maggie.
That is pretty much it, yeah. A couple of names missing maybe, but anyone want to get back from this, they need to put the hammer down now, because otherwise everyone is starting to work quite well together. Boonen's taking his turn on the front. Everyone's coming through quite nicely, and I think with that, you know, there needs to be a bit of urgency in the chase, that's for sure.
Well, we're looking for time gaps. We're waiting for time gaps.
Come on, en je hebt ook de mannen van Degenkolb, 2 man, die laten wel meerijden, hè. Zo lang mogelijk iedereen laten ronddraaien. Het is belangrijk voor iedereen.
The guys, the team of Degenkolb, we've got two riders in there. Let them go in there as well. Let's just make sure that everyone is taking their turn. Straight away, Tom Boonen starts waving with his arm as well, just waving them forward. Come on, let's, you know, you got to work as well.
Oh, it's what we mentioned. They don't want Degenkolb there hanging on as a passenger. They either want to get rid of him or make him work and tire him out.
Yeah, he's got to certainly take his turns on the front, because otherwise Degenkolb, I mean, he's fast enough to outsprint certainly Tom Boonen and probably even Pete Sagan if he gets it right.
He's the only half-pure sprinter left in the group, we should say.
Yeah.
But then again, with Sagan, you never know what sort of day it is with him. I mean, he's shown that even in the flat stage, he can sprint with the best.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's probably one of the few guys that can challenge a fully fit flying Mark Cavendish in a sprint.
Well, great to see Tom Boonen working there. It's almost as if he was a domestique right at the front. 39 seconds. He knows that his own chances are affected by this. And at the minute, well, Cannondale maybe trying to get 1 or 2 other men in there.
Yeah, well, they could do with having another rider up there with Pete Sagan, and also another man who can get back in there, who needs to get back in there, is Geraint Thomas, but he's looking a little bit sort of half committed or not really 100%. People put Sato in there as well for Lamprin, with the pink shoulders.
Nicky Sorensen putting the pressure on for Tinkoff Saxo. Strong man.
Yes, certainly.
Hasn't ridden this race too often. Now then, Dries Stevenijns again putting the pressure on. And again, they have the tactical flexibility here, because it means that Degenkolb won't have to chase if Stevenijns out the front.
Yeah, exactly.
Stijn van den Berg doesn't like that. Neither does Sebastian Minard, neither does Sepp van Marken. They sit off.
Sepp, je zit alleen. Jouw concurrenten Quickstep en ook Giant hebben alle belang bij dat het door blijft gaan. Hè. Ook wij natuurlijk, maar wij zijn niet degene die op moeten rijden.
Still pretty much the same message from them as from Quickstep. Just make sure that everyone is taking their turn and doing their work, and with that we can we'll do what we can.
Cancellara and Sagan isolated. It's what we thought might happen at the start of the day. Omega Pharma Quickstep strengthening numbers. 31 Ks to go here, and we're heading to the Kreuzberg. And here we go, Greg van Avermaet early, turning it on again. It's interesting.
Too early though for Greg, way too early.
Well, he obviously feels that he doesn't have enough, really doesn't have enough in the sprint.
Well, he must feel that, but I don't know if he's hoping he's going to bring Van den Berg with him, and maybe then, you know, Quickstep sort of backing off and letting them go up there. But the problem is letting someone like Van den Berg go out there with Van Avermaet. Van Avermaet is fast in the sprint, although he did get beaten by Stannard in het Nieuwsblad. He's certainly not a man that you want to sort of let go or drift up there too much.
Peter Sagan decides that he wants to try and follow this. And as soon as that happens, Tom Boonen gets interested.
Yeah, definitely just going down the hill full gas and, you know, just getting aero, really.
Boonen not wanting to let Sagan get a couple of meters on him.
24 seconds now to the group back chasing with Geraint Thomas.
So the chasing group is putting some time back into them, because we were talking 36, 37 seconds a couple of Ks back. .30 kilometers to go, Van den Berg and Van Avermaet out in front. Very, very select group. 30 seconds back to the chasing group, but the group behind these two is an 11-man group of extreme quality. Well,
and no one wants to ride. Group 2's 9, yeah, this is Group 2 then on the road with Van Avermaet and Van den Berg up there.
Well, Mina wants to get involved because he knows he's not going to beat anybody in a sprint. This is his chance to do something. Sagan, for the minute, is going to take his chance. Cancellara doing a bit of bluffing as well. And, of course, Quickstep obviously aren't going to chase him.
Well, Cancellara and Sagan are in the same kind of place as Leukemans has to go.
Well, Leukemans very likewise knows that he's not going to beat Quickstep in numbers. He's not going to beat Sagan in the sprint. He's got to have a go now.
It's down to Giant Shimano and the ones who only sit there with one rider in that pit, Sagan, Bosenhagen and Van Mark.
Well, if anybody's going to go from Giant, it's going to be Dries de Vrijns.
Yeah,
Degenkolb's job is to hang on, surely.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost worth these guys now just waiting for the group behind and then try and regroup that and get some more numbers in there in strength, certainly from...
Ja, nee, ik wil wat meer doorgeven. Ik heb er een doel voor. Dat is niet zo goed. De eerste niet meer
May very well be something like that, yes.
1994 rings a bell to me. Haven't got the list in front of me, but 1994 certainly rings a bell.
Rolf Sørensen?
Yes, and Nicky Sørensen is now joining them. This is the Kreuzberg, Greg van Avermaet and Stijn van den Berg. Sagan leads them on, and here they go. Sagan right at the front, Degenkolb behind him. De Vrijns is in the group, as is Cancellara, as is Bonen, as is Terpstra. They're all here. And the man in yellow at the back has just made the bridge.
It certainly has.
There is Nicky Sørensen, so tough to hang on here after putting all that effort in. Gutsy ride from him. Sagan looking comfortable, just riding on the tops.
Yeah, they're riding a strong pace though.
Well, Van Avermaet is putting everything into this attack. Remember, Ude Kwaremont after this and the Paterberg. Here's Sagan, set Van Mark on his wheel. Third wheel is, of course, Fabian Cancellara. And remember, the Megafarmer Quickstep aren't going to do any chasing while Stijn van den Berg's up there.
Bosenhagen looks like he's in a spot of trouble, as is Degenkolb and De Vrijns.
Well, it gets steep here. Remember, it's only relatively short, this one.
How strong is Peter Sagan?
Ja, Danny. Hey, kom aan! Aston, kom aan, Stan! Stan van den Berg.
Spaniel. Maar nou nog de
Ja, heel goed. Atem! Kom aan! Atem! Kom gewoon. Ja, gewoon. Ja.
Do anything because they got a man up front there. Who else is there? I mean, Peter Sagan can't do all of the work on his own, and Cancellara gets to the front here now then.
Cancellara then. Van Mark on his wheel. Bonen is watching this one. Sagan just with a grimace as well.
They're all pulling a few faces here now. Even Peter Sagan is not looking too cool.
Well, Sagan did a lot of the work up the climb there. Cancellara kept himself fresh, and look who's back on the back.
Yeah, but watch out for Nicky Terpstra. He's looking the freshest out of all of these guys in the group.
Cancellara. Well, Terpstra surely is going to be the first roll of the dice if a Megafarmer Quickstep try again, because Bonen can wait for the sprint if he wants.
Yeah, definitely. And the good thing for Van den Berg here is he's not really going to need to take too much of a turn unless he's got the orders from the team car to...
Hey, come on! Hey! Hey, come on!
Van Avermaet to tire out
Problems for Belkin. Surely that wasn't Van Marke, was it?
No, it was...
That's further back.
Further back down the group, yeah. Unless Van den Berg gets the orders from the team car to ride with Van Avermaet. I would personally, if I was a director there now, just say to Van den Berg, just sit on Van Avermaet, don't do a single meet.
Aston! Come Aston! Aston! Come on! Come Aston!
And as it comes down to it, Van Avermaet will have tied himself out.
I'm afraid it was a puncture for Sepp Van Marke.
Oh.
He is not in this group. He just got back on the front.
No, he's on the front. He's on the front.
Just got back on the front. They were
In het wiel blijven, hè, Stijn. In het wiel blijven, hè. Hij gaat niet meer lossen, hè. Die anderen beginnen nerveus te worden. Ideale situatie voor van achter.
Yeah, basically what I said. Don't do anything on the front there. Everyone is getting nervous in the back. It's perfect situation for us.
Well, great work from Van Marke to get back on very, very... And here we go. Van Marke has a go. He's shown his cards and he's being followed
by Degenkolb, who's just been off the back.
Well,
obviously struggling a little bit with the climb, so he figured it might be better off just getting out front. If I can get a bit of a gap and until the next climb, then that's not going to be a bad thing at all. And obviously the next climb coming.
Oh, two riders who were quickly at the back, out the front there as well, and here we go. Oude Quaremont isn't far away.
It's not far away at all.
A good group still together here. Two in the front and 25 seconds the difference. Van Avermaet and Van den Berg. They get to Oude Quaremont. 2 climbs to go, remember.
Yeah, I mean, depending on how they ride, if they go flat out in the group back here, then yeah, they'll need a good minute. But you've got to remember, we've got Patersburg as well, so last bit of drinks there for Peter Sagan.
Remember, the bar is very close to closing. 26 Ks to go. No drinking, no feeding in the last 20 Ks. And here we go. It's blown up once more. Van Marke, he's obviously chosen this moment as his moment.
That's big commitment. Cancellara then trying to close him back down. But look at that. It's Nicky Terpstra that's gone with Bjorn Leukemans.
Terpstra, Leukemans looks behind. Terpstra just takes the foot off the gas for the minute to see what damage he's done. You said he looked fresh. He's shown it here. And well, with those 3 in the group there, the other 2 up the road, no wonder Fabian Cancellara wants to chase. Sagan sitting on the back just because he was probably looking a little dodgy. Bonen sits there because he can.
Yeah, and I think that was a smart move by Peter Sagan as well, getting him off the front, down the back, getting the drink, and with that, you know, causing a few other riders to take the majority of the work as well. So that's a bit of a tactical, clever sort of situation. The wind at all at any point.
So Van Avermaet could be leaving his chances of a Flanders win on the road here. He was very bold, he went for it. This is his leadership. Remember, we've seen him do this lots of times, but as a co-leader. Today, he's the #1. Nobody else from his team left in with a shot in the race, and he went with well over 30 Ks to go. Magnus Bagstad next to me was shaking his head as soon as he went. He said it was too early. We've seen that it might be the case. They have 28 seconds at the minute, but a very much fresher Stijn van den Berg just behind him.
Yeah, that's... I don't know. He's going to have to be so committed to this now, Greg van Avermaet, and be so sure of himself that he can outride Van den Berg up the climbs and get rid of him, because if he's going to sit on the front like that, he won't have much left in the sprint.
Van Marke rests up at the back, remember. Second in Kuurne, Brussels Kuurne. There's a brief cessation. Remember, almost 20 Ks to go. Everybody wants a drink here. Everybody wants food. This is the last feeding time, because afterwards, I'm afraid it's an illegal feed, and there's a big fine.
Yeah, it's quite a big fine for... It's an expensive drink as such.
Oh, yeah.
If you know what
it's
I mean.
more than a double, let's say.
Yeah, definitely. But this is turning out to be one of those days where the big guns are sort of cancelling each other out. Omega Pharma obviously in a very good position, although maybe not the safest bet in the world up front, but still a very, very strong position in that Greg van Avermaet's going to ride himself into the ground. So I'd almost think that Van den Berg can actually attack and solo into the finish at a later stage of this stick. But it's causing, you know, Peter Sagan, Cancellara, Van Marke, everyone to ride. And
here we go, Lookemans. Right at the back again with Bossenhagen. This is Van Marke just recovering from his effort. Watch him, and watch Mina, because Mina's the latest to have a dig. What an improved rider in this style of racing, Sebastian Mina. Whatever he does today, hat off to him.
Yeah, definitely, but the race has changed quite a lot, and he's become that much stronger, and Boonen reacts then to Devaney's going, and Sepp Van Mark.
Sepp Van Mark then. He was waiting, he was ready, just taking on a drink and a bit of food. And Van Mark has been the eternal Neely man recently. 5th place, 4th place, 2nd in Kuurne. Biggest race he's won so far, Omloop Pit Nieuwsblad, and often that is a race that usually leads to bigger things. Well, there was a nasty moment of slip of a gear there for John Degenkolb. Sagan wants something else before the bar shuts. The last orders have been wrong.
Yeah.
Again, a little look round. 28 seconds, the gap is holding for Van den Berg and Van Avermaet. And now then, this is developing up the front with Edvald Bossenhagen. Sagan's going to follow this one. Cancellara still on the left-hand side in the black.
The interesting thing is, though, what is going to be Omega Pharma's tactics? What are they happy with? Which riders to go with the next couple of moves? And you know, Stibar having a go there with Bossenhagen, is that the right thing for them, or is that not right thing? Quite a lot of different sort of opportunities and possibilities.
Van den Berg still sits on the wheel of Van Avermaet. Van Avermaet's still looking okay, but you have to wonder. The difference in freshness and energy must be pretty big now.
Yeah, he's definitely going strong, there's no doubt about that. But this descent down towards Eau de Quirmont, you give him a little bit of a time to recover, but he's flicking his elbow, and Van den Berg is pulling the brakes. Gives him an opportunity. There's quite a long descent and quite a fast descent, so he can't really pedal, and he's still looking for him to come through, but it's just not going to happen today.
Well, all the looking round in that group behind has meant that the third group, who we haven't seen for a good 5 or 10 minutes on the shot, are now making their way back. The likes of Geraint Thomas we've seen, Pipo Pozzato. Could be a very, very interesting finale here. What we do expect, though, is there to be breaking point at Eau de Quirmont and Paterberg. This is Bjorn Loekemans.
The race is far from over yet, I can pretty much guarantee that.
Well, if you run out of energy on the Paterberg, you come to a standstill.
Yeah. Oh.
Now then, first turn was done by Van den Berg there.
Yeah, but you could see there was a few well-chosen words coming from Greg van Avermaet there, saying, you know, at least do your turn properly. Look at this, Paolini.
Wow, what an effort.
Interesting move.
What an effort. And he had to make it because, remember, Alexander Kristoff was no longer present. Luca Paolini, if he can sit on here, if he gets away, there might not be many who can follow.
but
another great ride.
Big hats off for making that bridge across there. And where are there any more riders? Well, they're all chasing back on here. They're all coming quite quickly. Who's left in this group then?
NT and Quebec have a rider. We've seen Pipo Pozzato in there. Zico Waitens, I think, for Topsport Vlaanderen.
Yeah, 2 or 3 Cannondale riders in there as well, so that's going to be good for Pete Sagan.
Well, you'd think that Oscar Gatto will be there.
Can they do anything for him on the Quadrimont though?
Or is it going to be Oscar Gatto a chance?
Yeah.
We haven't seen him doing too much work today.
Certainly not. Geraint Thomas coming back in as well.
A couple of Trek riders as well, which is helpful for...
But look at Paolini, she's gone straight through that group and just gone out the front.
And Paolini is off. Paolini being chased down by the couple of Lotto jerseys that got themselves into this group.
Yeah. Best move here now for the Cannondale riders would be get on the front, drive this as hard as they can, right into the bottom of the Eau de Quadrimont. Should they not have the legs to go up the Quadrimont, at least they've brought back as much time as they possibly can before they actually start doing the climb.
Into the final 20 kilometres, and Luca Paolini's on the prowl. This is exciting. This has been a huge race all day long. And if Luca Paolini's to pull this off, we're talking about a fantastic exploit. He bridged the gap, said, no thanks, I'm not hanging around with you. Straight through, and let's look at that little camera icon because it's time to go back to the cars.
Subito passiamo subito davanti e si tira subito, Si passa davanti e si tira subito.
Exactly what Magnus Bagstad was saying.
La nostra corsa di qualcuno finisce il piede del Quadrimont. Ale, questi 2 chilometri a tutta. Una volata.
There you go. 2 kilometres on full gas. He wants a sprint. Does Stefano
Tira
Zanata.
volata, that means basically pull as a leader for a sprint. So everything you got, just empty the tank to the bottom of the Eau de Quadrimont. There's nothing.
Rijdt niet meer, kijk. Come on, Greg, come on.
In there, and whatever you do after that doesn't matter, but these guys need to be brought back as close as they can.
Vandenberg and Van Avermaet.
Vandenberg is just basically going to the front and not doing much at all.
Right, we're approaching Eau de Quadrimont for the third and final time. If you're a quick step...
Björn, kom aan!
Changed, are you still strong?
Well, you're still in a strong position, but obviously it's changed the dynamics a little bit of the race. And watching this man coming up here, Bjorn Leukemans,
another good ride.
Yeah, he's a strong man and he can climb very well. But yeah, definitely pressure's being put on there.
I was going to say Liquigas then, but here at Cannondale.
It was, and he made it over the top on the flat as well. So can he get up this now? Has he got the legs left? Because we've got to remember, some riders don't fare very well on the super steep climbs as the Koppenberg, and that's where they kind of ended up on the back foot. That was basically the damage that was being done there for a long period, until now basically, and it's just regrouped and just in time for the Eau de Quadrimont.
Oh, look at that, great pace being done. Pozzato knows, of course, as an Italian, he'll have heard the conversations going on quickly. He got on the wheel, he's there at the front, and Case is just behind him.
And he's also ridden for the same sport director, so he knows exactly what's about to happen. Quick bottle for Peter Sagan there, dropped off by one of his teammates.
Sevan Marker again close to the front. Marcus Burkhardt's made it to the front as well. Yeah. Look. And he's the sort of guy that on the Eau de Quadrimont will fancy his chances because he likes to push a big gear, he's got a good engine, and here we are, penultimate climb of the day for Stijn Vandenberg. And black in the back of those two riders there. The man at the front is Greg Van Avermaet. What's he got left? Both of them on the tops. Maximum of 11.6%, but it's a war of attrition, this one, Maggie.
Yeah, it certainly is. And when we're getting into this stage of the race, you know, 240 kilometers been done already, and it just changes the race completely. And when you're doing these long races, you can be fine for such a long period of time, and then within 2 kilometers you go from feeling great to not having any legs left whatsoever. Leukemans riding strongly up here and actually gaining a little bit on the front two rides. 39 seconds back to the group of the favourites though.
Group in between is that sole man we just saw, Bjorn Leukemans. This is a good ride from Van Avermaet still. Again, Maggie still thinks he went too early, but he's still showing good form.
He's still riding strongly. Christoph
This is
on the
what's
front.
happening behind now. Paulini and Christoph working together. Sepp van Mark on the wheel. Cancellara makes his way up to the front, but where are the Omega Pharma Quick-Step jerseys? Fighting to get back. On the right-hand side, we see Terpstra. On the left, it was Bonen. Behind is Sylvain Chavanel as well. Brad Wiggins.
Ja, kijk vanavond maar dan. Alleen. Wat kan weer mee? Ja, mee.
Vlaanderen, we thought he'd turn for home, but he's there. Very, very interesting and a real turn up for the books.
What a move by Christoph though. Look, everyone's pulling faces. Nicky Terpstra looking like he's starting a million deaths down there. Same thing with Tom Bonen. Cancellara pulling for Tom Bonen's being dropped.
Oh, I've Quick-Step messed this up. That's Pozzato being caught by Geraint Thomas, who looks in a good position. Degenkolb looking in trouble as well. You have to say, have Quick-Step messed this up here?
Look, Leukemans going. Cancellara's doing a big move.
Cancellara! Wat is dat ding door?
Needs to respond to this straight away if he's got any legs left, because these two guys are going now. There's not much time left either before we hit the.
And look at the difference. Look at the difference there. Cancellara putting in a super move, and Van Marke just catching the train at the minute, right on the wheel. Interesting to see what sort of time he's putting in, because Van den Berge and Van Avermaet.
So they don't want Cancellara and Van Marke to get back up here now, because 21 seconds down to those two riders, and it's certainly not a good position for Omega Pharma Quick-Step right now. These guys put a monster move in.
This is the perfect hill for Fabian Cancellara.
Oh,
this
definitely.
was made for Fabian Cancellara, the older Quaremont. 20 seconds now, going down by the pedal stroke. This is a super ride. Now then, reaction time, and Sagan is behind. Christoph's getting involved, Terpstra, Bonen. Oh, you've got to be here now.
Well, Bonen is
Geraint
not
Thomas
there.
as well.
It's Stibar and Terpstra in there.
In fact, it's Edward Bosenhagen,
It is
pardon me.
Bosenhagen.
Goodbye, Bonen, then. It's not going to be...
A long way back there, and these guys are about to get caught by two borderline motorbikes.
So, off the top, onto the flats, now down towards the Paterberg. 15 seconds, that is all. And look at this. This is an absolutely super ride behind.
Yeah, it certainly is. And Cancellara hasn't even looked around to see who's there and who's going to even ask for a turn. He's just taken this. Now, when he comes out, he'll have a quick look around, see who's there. Is there anyone who's going to be able to help him, or do I take this on my own?
Cancellara, Sagan chasing. He's had to do a lot of work here. He'll take a bottle, and he needs somebody to help him.
These guys now will have to start riding together.
Problems 138 is the Europe car rider. It's Alexander Pichot who's being held up. He's not going to be a factor in today's race. Mirko Selvaggi is the Wanty rider there. Another fan nearly coming a cropper. Now then, another attack. Van Avermaet still has strength to attack Van den Berg, and he will try and get on there. Can see the difference behind. Look at that. Cancelara's caught them. I can say Loikumans has been left for dead.
Yeah, he's been, well, he got caught in the middle of Guardamont, basically, of the village.
16.1 Ks to go.
What is the reaction in that group, though, of Peter Sagan and the rest of the quick-step riders, or the only two quick-step riders left, because they need to bring Cancellara back before they hit the Patersburg.
The odds on Sepp van Marke picking up his first monument win have just shortened dramatically. He's not doing any work here. Sits on the back. Now, finally, Cancellara says it's your turn as Tom Bonen tries to get himself back into the mix. John Degenkolb with him as well.
Oh, what a brilliant race this is turning out to be.
Langeveld is there, as is Geraint Thomas.
Yeah, race is not over yet.
Well, long way to go in terms of the drama to play out here. There's only 15.5 Ks, but we've got Paardenberg to come. We've got that flat 13 kilometres afterwards.
That's going to be the issue.
Certainly, if you leave a lot in the Paardenberg, where do you find the extra work to do?
Well, I think Van Avermaet needs to just keep on working then with Vandenberg on his wheel to try and stay clear of these two guys as far up the Paardenberg as they can. Should Cancellara catch them before, he's likely to just put in a big move again on the Paardenberg and get rid of them. And the only one I'm thinking could possibly follow would be Sepp van Marke.
And Van Marke's nice and fresh. Flick of the arm from Cancellara. Van Marke says, OK, I'm interested enough and I'll come and do my turn as well.
Well, it just has to go with this, really. It's
well, you'd imagine he'd want to sit on Cancellara's wheel on the next climb again, certainly with the damage that Cancellara did again last year.
Yeah, definitely.
Here comes Cancellara, 12 seconds behind, and he's got a very good passenger in tow.
And here we go, last climb of the day.
Paardenberg time for the final time, 380 metres of absolute hell. Greg Van Avermaet, 20.3%. It just gets harder and harder and harder.
He just needs to settle down a little bit at the start of this climb so he doesn't run into the red too much before the steep section starts. Look at Cancellara, just rode in there, settles into a rhythm, and then you'll see the big effort will come on the steep part of this climb.
Well, he's already got the knowledge of having done the damage. He broke the race here last year. It was just 3 of them then. He was soloing in home after that, and there's been some good work being behind as well.
Here we go, Terpstra on the front now. Degenkolb.
Degenkolb wants to get a head start on the rest. Thomas and Edvald Boassenhagen, it's still mightily close on the final time over the Paardenberg. 12 seconds at the last count. And Greg Van Avermaet still towing Vandenberg up to the top. Vandenberg looks to be peddling squares a little now.
Yeah, there's not much left in those legs right now. Looking for more gears, but hasn't got any.
Cancellara behind, and here comes Sepp van Marke. Van Marke attacks Cancellara, but can the Swiss follow? At the minute, it wasn't too sure. Van Avermaet is the first to go over the Paardenberg, the last bit of climbing done, and here comes Cancellara. Starting to find his rhythm, starting to find his gear. Be the last chance for a Mega Pharma quick step.
Yeah, I don't think it's the last we've seen of this, though. I reckon the group is going to come very quickly from behind.
10 seconds for Avermaet. Quick question, can he do it?
I think he's going to struggle to hold on. The only saviour might be if the group catches Cancellara first, and then there's a bit of a stall in proceedings, and he gets a bit more of an advantage. At this point, Cancellara and
we we just saw, there have been people in camper vans here since the start of the week. It is that important in this part of the world. The climbing is done. We have 12.3 kilometers of a downhill twisting. Get his first win. Stein van den Bergen hanging on, trying to protect Omega Pharma Quickstep's interests here, or is it going to be Greg van Avermaet's turn? So many options and a hungry chasing pack behind. It's so hard to call, Maggie.
And a very hungry one, and obviously now as well with Cancellara and Van Marken up here. The guys down the back, Nicky Terpstra's going to do everything they can.
Go!
Well, that was the message to Cancellara at the top. He did it last year, and there wasn't an exalted response. Not able to get clear this time.
No, definitely that. I think that's as clear a message as you're ever going to get from your sport director.
Kom maar, Greg, vandaar moet je winnen. Allez, Cancellara. Hier. Paulini. Zit. Daar is hij. Allez, Luca. Nee, dit is dan niet. Oh, Lu. Daar staat. Hey. Mooi, dat is volbakken. Hier, vol zeker. Oh. Allez, Thomas. Zo hard.
So how do they work? Van Avermaet will want to try and find some sort of rest because he's no slouch in the sprint either.
Van Avermaet is not going to do any turn right now, that's for sure. But Cancellara will certainly ask every single one of them to take a turn. The only one who might not be, well, Cancellara should work out. Van den Berg is not going to take any turns with the riders behind him. Who is that Katusha rider in the middle there, though?
Well, Christoph was up there. Paulini had dropped back. Looks to be Christoph, because Paulini has a customised helmet, you know. And if Christoph gets into this group, he hangs on and rests, then we might be looking at 2 monuments from him for a year, and a very, very special start to the season.
This is one of the most exciting finals of a bike race I've seen in a long time.
It's been a special...
That is Christoph.
And here he is. What a man. The fast man's from the west coast of Norway, Stavanger, breathing hard, pedalling hard, riding hard. He can see it again. Tom Bonen behind on the chase. Nicky Terpstra as well.
I think that was Terpstra or...
Zo. Kees, hè? Dit is Zuid-Afrika. Hey. Hey.
Well, there has to be some acceleration or they're going to run out of it.
Yeah, well, they certainly don't want to let Christoph back into this one.
Well, if he gets back in quickly, he's got 8 kilometers to hang on and rest. Here we go.
Op dit moment is het achter jou helemaal uit elkaar gespat, hè? Dus dat is gunstig. Hè? We hebben nog niet exact de tijd, maar het is uit elkaar van achteren. Hè? Kom op, zorg dat je even nou door blijft rijden. Hè? Kom op.
Just keep on doing what you're doing.
Alexander Christoph, great start of the year with that Milan-San Remo when he out-sprinted a heck of a lot of top.
Hier Pauline bezig. Pauline. Hey, Luca! Goed gedaan. Jetzt gut blijven. Salvetje.
Strange from a man coming from up in the north, but you know the distance is he's quite happy with that, he said, and obviously he's showing that now. They've still got an awful lot left in there.
Alexander Kristoff, well, some wondering how the heck he got back in there. We'd sort of left him for dead, really, towards the back of the race. Certainly when we saw Paulini attack,
yeah,
it looked to be Katusha's last chase. This is Nicky Terpstra, and the former Dutch champion doing his best, but hasn't really looked on it whenever he's gone out in front today.
No, he's riding strong, no doubt about it. On the 9.1 kilometers to go, and there's certainly an awful lot of strong riders. Van Avermaet quite happy to start taking turns as well.
Cancellara riding on his own all day as well. Not too much support. Stein de Volder has done his best to give him something, but he lost Jaroslav Popovic to a nasty-looking injury and to a hospital visit as well earlier on in the day. He's been isolated for most of the day, and, well, between them, they've just... Kristoff now. Is he tiring?
He certainly looks like he's tiring. He's tightening up a little bit. Yeah, he's starting to look back down there. He's not getting any closer. Nicky Terpstra might be a good ally.
15 seconds, 16 seconds now. He wants somebody to join him. And look at this. Great bit of work being done out in front. And you can tell that is a combination of these guys pulling, Kristoff slightly sitting up, and suddenly the gap is out at 19 seconds again, Maggie.
Yeah.
8.5 kilometers to go.
But they need to really start asking Van den Berg to take a few turns.
Van den Berg has sat on for most of the time he's been out there. He's done a good job for a Mega Pharma Quick-Step. He's a man who was in the final selection of just about every single one-day race last spring, but he was always unlucky. Right from Omloop Het Nieuwsblad, right towards the Tour of It just didn't happen for him. Could this be the day for Stein Van den Berg?
25 seconds, and where is that group behind those guys?
3 Belgians and a Swiss. And you could say that with all the fans he has in this part of the world, almost an adopted Belgian.
Yeah.
Fabian Cancellara. But they want that true home win that they haven't had for 2 years since Bonen beat Pipo Pozzato in the sprint. Now then, finally, a man to tow him up towards the front. Kristoff behind. Inside 8 kilometers.
Surely the gap is too big, unless these guys out front there start messing around and start playing cat and mouse with each other. This great gap is too big to bring back in 7.5 kilometers.
Well, Kristoff. And it's been a good reaction again. Sepp van Marken. Behind is still Stein Van den Berg, who's just preparing himself. He's been taking on energy gels.
Yeah, last little bit of energy going in there. Interesting little group created here as well then.
Pino.
Thomas, Leukemans, Bonen, and was that Sebastian Langeveld?
Langeveld has been in there, yes. Langeveld worked his way in for Garmin Shop. Again, hidden through most of the race. Cancellara, Van den Berg, Van Marken and Van Avermaet. Cancellara at the front, 31 seconds now. It's looking increasingly better for these guys, and very much like we're going to see the winner of the 98th Tour of Flanders come from this group.
Yeah, we certainly will do that. Van den Berg is still playing. I'm sitting on the wheel here. I'm just waiting for this. Except Van Marken just drops back. It's all about getting into position here now, and the last thing these guys are going to want is a Van den Berg sitting down the back there and then just hitting them hard, and the rest of the guys just sort of wondering who's actually going to chase this down.
Van Avermaet, another gel for Fabian Cancellara. Interesting as to the science of sport now. These things can be digested so quickly that it's going to be useful for the last 6 kilometers.
Kom maar eens, Stijn.
Marvermat, surely they're getting word now behind that they've more or less done the job. Unless, as you say, they start looking around.
Yeah, if they start looking around, I mean, the seconds tick on quite quickly, as we saw when Christoph sat up and waited for Terpstra.
Van Avermaet out to the back. There's Sepp van Marken, and if you want an indication as to Sepp van Marken's sprinting form, fourth in Gent-Wevelgem last week, a race that was won by one of the main sprinters in the pro peloton at the minute, John Degenkolb. They were all up there. He beat the likes of Bonen.
That's boom, yeah.
Saying that as well, Cancellara, third in Milan-San Remo after all that, against an awful lot of good, strong sprinters as well. So, you know, it just comes down to who's got anything left at the end of this race.
Van Marken at the back. Van den Berg still not doing any work. What does he have left in the tank? Is he going to go for a solo effort?
I think he's going to have to try and hit them, and you know, just get around this here now. Take his turn, take a short turn, and swing in the front of Cancellara, drift back as soon as he gets to the back of that.
Question for you then: if you are Stijn van den Berg, at what period do you launch that attack? We're 4.5 kilometers remaining now. The gap is more than good enough here. 36 seconds.
But he needs to make it close enough to the finish that the other guys are going to start thinking about, oh, I don't really want to take that hit right now, because then I'm not going to have anything left in the sprint. So I'd give it about 1,200 meters, 1,300 meters maybe. That's kind of where you need to make that big hit.
Cancellara to the front.
But I would almost do to the point where Van den Berg just drops off the back 10 meters, winds it up and slingshots you know, up to them and past them. Otherwise, he's not going to have enough speed to get past them, really.
Here we go. The looking around has started. Cancellara drifts to the left as they go under the 4 kilometre to go banner. A few others reach for energy gels. Surely now this is just mind games.
Yeah, if it makes you feel better, then why not? You know, it's at the end of the day, it's all going to come down to the mental strength. Who wants this the most, and who can go the deepest into the hurt locker, as we call it.
Tension, drama, excitement. We promised it would all be present. I can tell you, here at the finish line, there are rows and rows of people. We've seen that estimate of between 800,000 and 1 million people on the side of the road today, and it's all come down to 4 men. 30 seconds they have on those chasing behind. Quickly drops down every 100 meters or so now because of the fact that they're just starting to think of the sprint.
Van den Berg is going.
And Van den Berg goes on the right-hand side, followed quickly by Van Avermaet. Cancellara behind, looking to try and close the gap. Is he going to give all he's got to do that?
Yeah,
Sepp van Marken on the wheel.
Seated acceleration by Cancellara, but Cancellara is hurting.
And look at that, it's a real go from Van den Berg. Perhaps he knows he can have a go. They'll be shouting him in on the radio.
And it's reverse roles now, because Van Avermaet is on the wheel of Van den Berg, and I think Van Avermaet, if they seized it, got a little bit of a gap, and they have it.
Look at it. Look at the gap here. Cancellara sits up. Cancellara just takes off the pedals, and now Van Marken, if he wants to be involved here, has to go, surely.
He has to go. All that effort to get back onto these guys, and then nothing.
And
here we go.
Here he goes. Van Marken on the right-hand side. Cancellara on the back's going to hang on. At the minute, it's Van Avermaet who takes the turn at the front. The gap is closing. Cancellara at the minute is in recovery mode. Just hang on in there. 2.5 Ks to go. Van Avermaet turns around and says to Van den Berg, well, we could have the top 2 spots on the podium if we ride together here.
Yeah, Van Marken is doing a big turn though to close that gap, but that will have cost him. Cancellara needs to just take that last little bit now. Oh no.
Van Marken.
That is just a difference between a man who's got the cool and he's won this race before. He doesn't really need it. He's quite happy to sacrifice it.
And now it is Van den Berg who goes to the back. Surely another attack again. Now it's Cancellara who goes. He was bluffing. Cancellara on the left-hand side grits his teeth, decides he doesn't have enough. 2 Ks to go. It's so interesting. And look out for Van den Berg. Waits, ready to pounce.
I think Van den Berg is going to be dangerous here if he gets an opportunity to go again.
Looking round, and they all want to get him to the front. They all want to get him to the front. They're all thinking the same thing here, Maggie.
Keep an eye on that watch in the top-hand corner there as well, because
24 seconds for the minute, 10 has been shaved off in just a kilometre's time.
Yeah, and now it's going slow, so it's going to start ticking down quite quickly.
And surely the DS is behind are on it there, guys. They can see what's happening. They're on to get the chase on. I'll tell you, we won't have the world champion involved. Eddie Merckx lookalike won't be sprinting away here. He'll be doing his best to keep up on the bike path for the mid. Winner last year, the man looking to win it for a third time, all the rest looking for their first win, and one of them is Van den Berg, who goes. This time they have to follow into the final 800 metres. Van den Berg is Omega Pharma Quick-Step's last hope. If they don't do it here, they really have blown it tactically. Van Avermaet, who's done so much work. Van Marke is a big shout by many people for this race. In the end, no Sagan, no Bonen. It's all down to Cancellara and a couple of other riders, and look behind, Christoph and, well, it's Nicky Terpstra with him.
500 metres to go.
500 metres then. They sit up, they go. Terpstra is desperately trying to pedal on behind. It might just be too late, we shall see. Almost to a standing stop here.
Yeah, who's gonna go first? Yeah. 300.
Everybody looking at each other, and whoever goes the next time, if they can keep it going, they've got the line.
You can't go before that. You've got to keep it to the line if you go now.
Cancellara on the left-hand side, and it will be him to launch it. Cancellara on the left. It is Van Avermaet in the red and black. Van Avermaet leading at the minute. Cancellara's there. Behind, waiting on the real set, Van Mark. Van den Berg won't have it, but it will be Cancellara for...
Fabian Cancellara! Spartacus Club!
Well, apologies if you're offended by some of the language you heard in there, but I'm sure you'll understand it. Doug de Mol and his team absolutely delighted. Trek Factory Racing with the biggest win as a team so far. Fabian Cancellara with a superb win, and he joins that select group of riders to have won the Tour of Flanders on 3 occasions. It's his second in a row, and well, Omega Pharma Quick-Step left it all on the road. They were all against Fabian Cancellara, who seemed to have the world against him, but he still had it through to take the win. In the meantime, it's going to be Tom Bonen who's going to come in and be applauded very generously by his own supporters, and he'll come in ahead of Geraint Thomas just behind him. But look at this, it's the scene we saw a year ago. This time, though, he had to wait until the final 200 metres, Magnus.
Fabian Cancellara, many congratulations. 2010, 2013, 2014. It was a power sprint after all.
I don't know. I still cannot believe. I mean, it was so tough, and I almost get dropped 2 times when they attacked, and then I don't know. I just everything went well on the end. I mean, when I passed the finish line, yeah, it's just amazing. I mean, last year I won in an amazing way, but to repeat this is even bigger, I guess. I think because winning once is big, but to repeat this, I mean, yeah, just no words. And like I promised to my wife to come again as the first rider to the finish to bring the flower home, and I think yeah, it's an amazing day again, and feel sorry for the Belgians. I went against 3 Belgians, and yeah, but now I'm just happy, and now let's rock the bus at the team bus, and have a nice evening.
Many congratulations. Thank you very much.